The opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of the Barbers Chat Network, our great partners at H&B Media, or any of our media peers. We're just five idiots who love sports and love to talk shit. If you're offended easily, then this show isn't for you. And for those of you who aren't offended easily, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Remember, it's only entertainment.
So cool.
Triple double hat trick, I know the code too. Ice trade, go for trade, yeah we cold too. Getting paper on these player haters, old news. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold. My agent just said we made 100 flat. Make it back and make it stack, this like no Steven Jack. Put my rings up in the camera like I needed that. Up in the air and at the rim is where I meet them at.
Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome to another edition of I'm Not Gonna Hold You, man. This is the off-season edition. It is your host, Scott. It is Friday, July 5th, 2024. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Barberchair Scott. You can also follow our partners, H&B Media, H&B Media TV on Twitter, and at H&B Media on Instagram. Of course, follow the Barbers Chat Network at Barbers Chat Net on all social media platforms, and get in tune with our Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Barbers Chat Network. Whole bunch of different tiers on there, man. You got your Summer Sessions tier, you got your I'm Not Gonna Hold You tier, you got your Barber's Chair All Access tier, as well as the 79th and Hallis tier, man. Pick whichever tier fits you and enjoy all the new content that we've got on there. And while you're here, man, like this page, subscribe to H&B Media TV, leave a comment, whether you want to leave a positive comment or just want to come in and call us idiots. Whatever you want to do, we appreciate any and all engagement. Like I just said, it is July 5th, 2024. This is our off-season schedule, so our new, I guess, timing will be every week up until week 1 of the NFL season. We'll be going live on Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Pacific time, man. We're going to be going over all the things from the last week in the world of sports and entertainment. Let's just get right to it, man. Bring my co-host in for the evening. We've got the one and only JR Bang. You can follow JR Bang at JR Bang on all social media platforms. You can follow Dante at October's on Tate on Twitter. Do not look for him on Instagram. He will find you. And then we've got one of the co-founders of the Barbers Chat Network, one half of the 79th and Hallis podcast, my brother Flows. You can follow him at Flows Andolini on all social media platforms, man. How y'all niggas feeling, man? First day after the holiday, how we feeling?
I feel sorry for you niggas that had to work today, but other than that, I feel amazing. How about y'all?
I'm one of those niggas that had to work today.
Bang's mom's games never gets off. The entertainment never stops.
Entertainment never stops. But nah, we good, man. Barbecue for the family yesterday. They took all the food. I went in the refrigerator. They only had 8 wings.
8 wings.
They're gonna have 8 wings and 2 burgers and 2 hot dogs. Like, y'all niggas know we got 3 kids. We got a whole family over here.
Oh yeah. That food went away quick. Y'all had guests come over?
Yeah, that's them the motherfuckers who took the food. I was flattered, but I was like, damn, I got kids. Gee, like, can I feed them? But nah, we good, man. We good. Now the weekend's here.
Flows, how you feeling?
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. Tired. Long weekend. Long weekend, but yeah, I'm chilling.
Shout out to Marlon. He said, well, I'm had to work to the niggas. We said, I'm one of the few had to work to the niggas as well. Bang, don't feel too bad. Yeah. We got Shane O'Mac and Chase. Oh shit, Flows, the man, the myth, the legend. Yes, he is here making his appearance on the show today. Mikey will be joining us in about 10-15 minutes. We've got a packed show to get into. We're gonna get into some NBA talk, we get into some baseball talk, and we're gonna do our first of 8 division breakdowns in the local hour. We're going to start with the NFC North. But before we get into the actual sports, man, I had a little rant on my heart. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this. We just spent too much time on this damn topic. Like, to be completely honest, this isn't summer sessions. I'm not going to get full into it. But I just want to say, man, like, enough of the I'm tired of this song. You run into the ground, da 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 da. I understand we live in this microwave society where we live in this TikTok era. And I'm going to sound like an old head, but I don't care. We the unks. I don't care. Hashtag it on Twitter. We the unks. I'm going to be the unk nigga right here.
That's new hashtag for real. That's dead ass new hashtag for real. We're the unks.
We the unks. You know what I'm saying? Like there was times where hit records lasted forever. It's only been 2 months. The video just dropped yesterday. It's gonna give not like us even more life. It's going no pun intended. It's gonna keep going, and you've got college football season coming up. But my point is this: for multitude of reasons. One, your boy asked for it, so we can't be talking about he's milking it. Number two, outside of it being an actual diss song, it's a hit song now. So of course you're going to go out here and shoot a video and promote it, do a remix, do all the things that you're supposed to do because it is a hit single. You guys would have lost it if this was 2003 and you heard In the Club every 2 seconds, or it's 2004 where Usher every 2 seconds. You still hear it. You know what I'm saying? Like a hit record does that. Niggas in Paris, Dreams and Nightmares, all these other songs we've heard months and months and months and months that don't die. This song is never gonna die. You still hear Poison in the Club. As much as I can't stand that song because you hear it too much, that's a legit complaint. They've been playing it for 30 years. It's 2 months. Let's keep it real. Some of y'all saying this just because your boy got packed out. It's as if the shoe was on the other foot, y'all would be playing this joint all the time and it wouldn't even matter. Nobody else is getting tired of outside of that little section of people, man. But this is what happens when you have a hit record. You're supposed to have an actual rollout. I know your brains are fried from little 5-second things and have things moving on quick. But that's just how this thing is. So I just want to get that part off because I'm getting tired of it. It's getting to the point where it's like, y'all, music shouldn't be thrown away like this. And I think the biggest thing that we've seen from this is people acting like this is some C-level rapper who has like his first big song ever. Like that's the annoying part about it. Like, let it go, man. Your boy got packed out. It's fine. He will be fine. Let's move on, man. So, any thoughts before we move on? I know when Bang sent me the video yesterday, I was in a drunken slumber. That quickly woke me up. But
I was high. Man, yeah, shut up. Like, that's exactly how I am, man. Like, shut up, fam. Like, you, especially some of the old heads that's doing it, because you're right. We lived in a time where on Total Request Live, the Backstreet Boys was number one. Then it was NSYNC that was number one. Like, it was years. I'm old enough to remember the Coke Top 9 at 9 on GCI, and I remember Jodeci being number one for like all year. And then there was a debate like one night. Boys to Men had it. Like, we live in a world where the best songs get played frequently on TV, radio, commercials, all of that. It is what it is at this point. Just go ahead and just ride this wave till the date that's on Kendrick's shoulder, since everybody says that's when the album was coming out, since that theory is now 8/8/24. So
a terrible theory considering that's not even what the shirt says.
Yeah, so let's just ride this wave. It's a great song. It's a fun song. And hey, Kendrick got that win. Great video, by the way, too.
Very great video. Really, really enjoyed it. Flows, you got anything to say if we move on or no?
Yeah, nigga, Drake lost. Kendrick won. What you want him to do? Like, nigga, this is what happens when you lose. You're reminded of it. What happens when you win the fucking Super Bowl? If you're the loser, what happens? You get to see the team celebrate in front of you on national TV. And then after they're done, they're going to get the trophy handed to them and they're going to parade through their city. This is just a part of the winner's circle. You just got to get used to this. This is losing. But I just realized it's just human nature, man. When somebody you like, something you like, a belief, a person, you get upset and you try to figure out ways to discredit it. You're just salty. But your man lost. He bit off more than he can chew. Well, when the beef started, I said, this is not a good situation for him. You're in danger. And then, Lord have mercy, was I proven right.
Yeah, man. Or as Orlando said in the chat, he said, "Bang remembers when Rappers Delight was played nonstop."
No,
You
I
don't
don't. I do not. I do not, Orlando. See, that's what gets your ass beat. I am not that old. I do not even come from the KRS One era, my nigga. But
He said, "I don't remember when the bridge is overdrive. Leave me alone."
nigga, no, I still grew up in the era where they didn't play rap until like late at night.
Yeah,
I'm still from that era,
yeah.
which is
Put some.
hilarious, by the way.
Hey, man. Hashtag we the unks.
We the unks.
Yeah, man. So let's get into some
Hey,
basketball.
hey,
But
that's merch. That's merch. Write that down. Like that's legit
I
merch for the
can't.
pod.
I take great credit for that.
Oh,
Shout out my boy Trey. He tweeted that yesterday.
well,
So
hey,
yeah, I'm
gotta
gonna
rate
hit
that
Trey
shit.
up. I'm gonna tell Trey we making shirts.
Then we make shirts. That's
We
it.
making shirts, Trey. But yeah, we the unks.
Proceeds.
I might call that next Summer Sessions episode. We the unks. But that might be the next one. By the way, last week's Summer Sessions, if you have not listened to it,
Hilarious.
that might have been the best one ever in
Nigga.
the history of the podcast, man. A very classic episode, man. So check that out if you haven't checked. It's called the Dwayne Wade Button Up. So check
Rob
that
out
out.
here
So,
wearing big pants. Yeah, yeah, here copping big pants.
you catch your comic big pants, man. But
Copping, please.
let's get into some sports, man. It's been 2 weeks since the last time we recorded. 2 weeks ago we were talking about the recap of the NBA Finals with the Boston Celtics being the NBA champions, and now we are 2 days away from when the free agents can actually sign the contracts. Where people have agreed to these different deals. There have been a lot of trades have gone down as well. I think it's been a little underwhelming NBA off season, but that's just because the way the new CBA is formed, where it kind of stops teams from making these big moves to try to make it like a equal playing field for smaller market teams. But the biggest news, which is crazy, it shouldn't be the biggest news, but it is, whatever. Bronny James, we came on here last time. He's been a topic of conversation on the last couple episodes. You remember Pavi cut me off like a month ago, said, let's talk about something that actually matters. We all made our votes on what team was going to draft it, and I think all of us are right. Is he was drafted with the 55th pick last week by his dad's Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron went on to sign a 2-year, $100 million extension, which a player option after year one, which we'll be back here doing this shit again next year. I just want to say this, man. I talked about this on BOMM podcast. Shout out my homie Black Trey. Shout out the homie Jerv. Shout out my man Juju Gotti from Lebatard Show. He's also co-host of the BOMM podcast. I was honored to be a guest on their pod this past
You
week.
switching up on us again, huh?
Bang, I'm going Hollywood. I was on CSGO and now I'm on this pod. But
Hollywood Scott. You know
that's good. No, I put the shades on, nigga. I got some shades on. No, let me go there. I'm not gonna do that. But anyway, so we were on there talking about the draft and Bronny getting drafted. Here's my thing. I didn't want to talk about it on the internet because Twitter's not a place for nuance, and everybody is so focused on the other aspects of it. I'm gonna say this. One, I'm happy for Bronny. I wish Bronny well. I hope Bronny has a great career. I'm not gonna hate on no 19, 20-year-old kid just because I'm not a fan of his father. Two, it's even a blessing that he's even alive right now. Forget basketball. It's a blessing that he's alive right now after the heart problems he had last year. So, and I'm not even mad at LeBron. I have no problem with nepotism. I think Bomani Jones' take on nepotism was crazy. He was doing a lot, and I'm a fan of Bomani. He was wild. If I had a son and I had the power that LeBron James had, I'd do the same thing. But the issue to me here is we got to stop acting like this is a King Griffey Jr., King Griffey Sr. type of situation. As it just said by Woj reported, he's going to be spending majority of his season with the South Bay Lakers, despite the fact he's got a guaranteed contract. But they said they're planning to have him and his father on the same court the first week of the season. To me, this is just for show. So it's nothing to do with basketball. It's just so they can get their Laker moment off. And as a media member, I have a problem with that. I'm sorry. It's wild corny to me. It's just we're doing too much for somebody that I feel needs to be slowly guided in. I'm not, we can look at the numbers, 4 points per game. I think that if you're looking at just those numbers, we're not being sincere about it because it's a kid who probably shouldn't even be playing basketball with the heart situation. So I'm not going to take that 1 year and just average 4 points, especially in a draft. with niggas who's averaging 10 points was going top 10. I'm just not a fan of the coverage of it. Now, I get it. I'm not an idiot. I'm a media veteran. I understand the storyline behind it. I'm just personally not a fan of it. And we're going to be doing too much coverage about this entire season. And we even saw in the press conference when they introduced Bronny and the other Lakers draft pick. I don't remember the young man's name right now. My
Dalton Connect.
Dalton Connect. Okay. Yeah. And he was a little annoyed by the questions about his father. And I was like, buckle up, kid. This is what you signed up for. It's going to be like this through the entire season. So that's just my opinion on that. I'm going to bring Mikey in right now as we get right into this. Mikey, what's going on, bro?
What's the word, y'all?
Oh, yeah.
Friday.
Cracking the Modelo, man. Like I told Ben, I got some People's Tequila in here right now.
Like Bang, man. Like
Bang.
I was in the office today. I was a working man, so it feels good to be back at the crib.
Feels good to be back. Got everybody here, man. We were just talking about Bronny. I'm gonna go to Bang first, man. What's your opinion on this whole Bronny situation that we've seen really just the last couple months, but especially this last week?
The resident father.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you when it's your son. I'm gonna do whatever I can for my son. I think it's a good moment for a media thing. I think you are correct. This ain't King Griffey Jr. and King Griffey Sr. King Griffey Jr. came in as a better prospect as his daddy, as a better pro as his daddy. So it's kind of like the opposite. But his daddy was a serviceable outfielder in major leagues for years. All right, so it's definitely different. The only thing I don't like about this is I don't think that they're setting up Bronny in the right way. I don't think that he is being set up to win. He's coming to a team to where you have a brand new coach that has no track record, and you got your daddy on there. You bring him in for a week for some ceremonial stuff, and then you send him over to the G League, right? If that's the case, he could have did this shit with any other team that he was on. He could have did this with any team that was drafted. And he probably could have went to a team that has a better reputation right now with developing players. Like the Lakers, I get what everybody is saying and all of that stuff, and right. I don't agree necessarily with what Bomani Jones was pretty much saying through the majority of his rant. The only thing is that if you're going to do this, you need to set up your son the right way. So when people talking about nepotism works when you set up your child, your seed the right way. You just don't. Now, if the son fails, he fails. But you're not just going to bring your son in and just be like, yo, run this. And it's a situation where there's no track record of anything. Where's the track record of J.J. Redick or even the Lakers program in the last 5 years developing players? They got rid of them all when LeBron got there. There's no track record for the Lakers developing and bringing up players. So why do we think that's going to change with Bronny? That's why I don't like this. That's the only thing about this that I don't like. I like the fact that his father looked out. I just don't think that this situation is going to create a situation for Bronny that's going to make him a serviceable guard in the NBA. I would have rather him went to another team if that was going to be the case. I don't trust the Lakers in player development because that's not something that they have done for years. And if somebody can prove to me who that player was that really became serviceable and really became a star player for the Lakers through player development in the last couple of years outside of Austin Reeves, then I'll retract that statement. But they're not too keen on player development. They want to get players now to win. So it's like, all right, cool. This is great. This is a great photo op. Go ahead and do all of the pomp and circumstances. But what's going to happen when he play a game? Who's going to coach him up?
Yeah, and I think like if you bring it in a situation like Bronny, you definitely want a more experienced coach than what you have with JJ Redick. Joe, you had a different opinion a little bit than what me and Bang are saying. What you think about the whole Bronny thing?
I mean, he was a solid high school prospect. I think those who, I hope you don't hear my dog in the background, but those who are denying that he was a good high school prospect are denying reality. He was a 4-star prospect, very good defender, solid scorer, passed the ball well, rebounded well. He was a good prospect. Unfortunately, he goes to USC. He deals with heart issues, and this season, freshman year, was underwhelming. Absolutely. He dealt with the fact that he did not have a lot of time to adjust to that college level, and he's dealing with the fact that he is an undersized guard. That being said, the time he spent, he averaged 5 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, nothing crazy. He was fine. He was a fine player, and it's the second round. It's not like we're picking a first round player. It's the second round. Zach LaVine, who was a first rounder, averaged under 10 points in college. It's fine. That being said, is it nepotism? Of course it's nepotism. Is the Lakers doing a lot with the rollout? Yes, but at the same time, it's based on what the market wants, what people want to see. And they want to see it. And so they're going to put the content out there that gets people talking, whether it's negative, whether it's positive, but it's not that big of a deal. It would be different if he was a lottery pick, where I would say, wow, you just kind of wasted your prized possession with your picks by getting him, because that doesn't make any sense. But this is the NBA draft. The NFL draft, a second round pick, nuts. But for me, this is the equivalent of giving a seventh rounder. If Bronny was a football player and he was being drafted in the 7th round of the NFL draft, I go, it's fine. Punters and kickers get drafted there. But it's just not as big of a deal as a lot of people make it out to be. That being said, does it still do we deal with the trend of the Lakers not really knowing what they're doing, or just trying to throw shit at the wall and hoping it sticks? Oh, yeah. And the signing of JJ Redick as a coach is a prime example of that. No experience. All of a sudden, he's a podcaster, former NBA player podcaster. He's your coach. And then you're pairing him up with a player who is definitely a project. It's not a recipe for success. Absolutely not. But I also don't think it's that big of a deal. He's a late rounder and a non-first rounder. It's fine. I don't think we should make that big of a deal and act like this is a kid who never played college, who was ass in high school. No, he's a talented kid. And I think his ceiling is probably 12, 15 points per game in the NBA. But that's if he has good coaching, good growth. He's a product. He's a raw talent that needs to be refined. But the talent is there.
We got Mikey in the bill. You can follow Mikey at Junior_Solito. Mikey, what's your take on this whole Bronny thing we've seen this last week?
I think it's more. I don't have an issue with obviously the Lakers taking LeBron or taking LeBron's son. To go back to Bang's point, you talk about setting up Bronny for success and doing right by Bronny. I look at this move. This move isn't for LeBron or isn't for Bronny. This is for LeBron James and the James family. This is something that has obviously never been done in the NBA before. Because if it was about setting up Bronny for success, they would have pushed him to either stay at USC or transfer to another college and get another year of seasoning under his belt. Kind of use last year as a red shirt year, because I agree with Flows. He is an NBA talent. He will be able to contribute on the defensive end. Probably within the first couple weeks. I see his ceiling as somebody like a Gary Harris. Obviously he's about 2 inches shorter than Gary Harris. Gary Harris is about 6'4", Bronny at 6'2". But this is more about LeBron and that James family going ahead and having this monumental moment. If they had Bronny's best interest at heart for his career, Bronny would have been at school somewhere and they would have done this next year. But to me, this kind of signals, I think, what is maybe LeBron James. We're probably entering that final year. I know he signed a 2-year deal, but that really is a player option. So he's on a year-to-year basis. I think this might be, kind of like that quiet announcement of, hey, like, this is going to be my last year, but I wanted to have this on my belt. Whether we win a championship or not, at least I can say my very last year in the league, I got to play with my son.
I think one thing, LeBron, I'm with you as far as like the year-by-year thing, and we'll get into the contract in a minute. I do think that with LeBron, if we know anything about Raymond, is he will not do anything quietly. He is going to have that farewell tour. If Dwayne Wade got one, that nigga's like, where's mine? 100%. It could be late. It could be something like maybe All-Star break he makes it. But I do think that whether it's this year or next year, the year after this coming season, that it will probably be the end. Dante, take us home with this Bronny topic, man. What's your thoughts?
The more we look at it, and when you listen to the Lakers and Rob Pelinka and JJ Redick and the way they emphasize player development, this is essentially the same as somebody who's a CEO getting his son an internship at the company he worked for. Like they're going to use Braun as their guinea pig to show off their new player development plans. So the more the dust is settled. I know everybody's really upset about it, but there's nothing to be upset about. He got a standard second round contract. We got numerous players through history that have gotten that same $7 million deal. I know people were looking at the money at first, like, nah, that's crazy. But when you have been earmarked to be a part of somebody's player development plan, they tend to do shit like this. So the money is no big deal. I think people really need to let it go. But I do agree with what Mikey said. And like, I think LeBron is on his way toward the end. And so he was like, as I do this, I want to have my son with me. So, whatever Bronny becomes is up to, his work ethic and everything they put around him. But we know they're going to give him the best options available. And, but I think more than anything, this is something, and this is where I agree with Bomani, where this is about LeBron James. This ain't about Bronny. As much as we want it to be, and as much people are trying to, push it that way, this is about LeBron and finishing up his story. He's been, someone who has been heavy on his legacy and really, curated the way people perceive him. And so now we at a point now where it's like, if he can do this and pull this off, and then his kid becomes a rotation player in the NBA as he goes out, and then he got another one coming in as he's going out, because he says a 2-year deal. That's a lot. That's a lot for him, for his legacy. So it works both ways. But I think as far as Bronny, like Flo said, bro, before the heart attack, he was projected as a first rounder. The skill set is there. Also at USC, he was behind 2 NBA guards. They both got drafted. So it's not like he was just playing with bums and couldn't get playing time. So, everything that happened with the cardiac arrest really affected him at USC. And now you're going to see him in a space with, like I said, the best trainers, best everything at his beck and call. So I think it's really a matter of what he puts into it. So I think when we look back at this, obviously you got people that's going to say, LeBron is running the franchise and all that other shit, but it's not going to be a big deal at the end of the day.
So
I will say though, I think
go ahead.
it's bad advice on the part of the people around Bronny, his father, the agents, whoever it is. They should have told him to stay one more year. Stay one more year and just give yourself time to adjust your game. Because 5 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, like a 0.3 blocks or something, is fine for your first year, especially coming off a cardiac arrest. That's nuts. Getting your body to adapt to that, but then taking that extra year to actually showcase who you are, I think would have given him a much better standing. And in my mind, if he takes that second year, I think he will be much closer to a lottery pick. Not going to become one, but much closer to one.
So that's why, real quick, that's the only reason why I don't like this. That's the only part of this I don't like. If you're looking for the best, if you're looking at this at the best interest of your kid, then yeah, staying one more year don't hurt, especially when you signed a 2-year deal. But I also believe that it's easier to do it now because you can kind of control the situation with him being a second round prospect. If he goes out there and he does what I think every last one of us think he can do, you can't control that once he becomes a first round prospect. Now you get there, somebody gonna pick him and you ain't gonna get this opportunity. But that's why also I believe that this is doing Bronny a disservice because you're not setting him up to win. See, the whole thing about nepotism is not just to get your kid a job and get him out your house. The whole thing about nepotism is setting up your kid to win. That whole thing about the internship, you go and get your son an internship. The whole point of it is for that son to grow off of that internship and then take over the company. And you damn well better believe there's a whole bunch of rich dudes out here that practice nepotism and then they son be out there snorting coke and doing dumb shit, and then they be like, "Goddamn, Brad, you're fucking up the goddamn name, Brad. You're fucking up the goddamn name."
You mean Hunter Biden?
Basically, you know what I'm saying? So the way this works is if this man comes out, I ain't saying he got to be an all-star's first year, but you have to see the talent actually grown and cultivated. And I just don't think this situation makes for that, because you're putting so much pressure on the kid, and we're giving his ceilings as people like Gary Harris and shit. Like, nah, if he stays there one more year, that comp goes up. Not saying that's a wrong comp, but that's a bogus comp. What I'm saying is that the more you pour into him, the better he will be short term and long term. And I just don't think that LeBron James or the Lakers or Rich Paul are setting him up for that. They're setting him up for a photo shoot. And that's what I'm nervous about.
But it's the thing, though. You're not. If it's that's the thing. Like, the talent he's going to be playing against is going to be better than the talent he would played if he would have stayed at USC. Like,
I'm not saying that. I just want to be
that's
clear.
my thing. If we're talking about development, when we talk about iron sharp as iron, then they wanted him around professionals as opposed to going back to college with a bunch of motherfuckers that are concerned with NIL. And with a guy like Bronny James, that ain't got shit like that. That's on the back burner.
That sounds good on paper. That sounds no, that sounds good on paper. And yes, that's fact. But he still has to develop. Just because you have all of those things around you, that doesn't mean that player is going to develop. That's why I don't think this is a perfect situation.
Yeah, but it's not a situation where he's going to just be on the Lakers. Let's be clear. He's going to spend the bulk of his time with the Lakers. Like that.
Did the Bulls just get someone who literally was in the G League for a year and then boosted himself up, and then he's a damn good player? So the fact that, my main worry was maybe.
Oh no, Mathis was actually projected to be a first round pick, and he was one at the time.
No, we ain't talking about him.
I'm talking about him.
Mathis Buzelis, however you pronounce his last name, he was projected to be a top 5 pick. And they wanted him to go to school, but he decided to go play against grown men in the G League, and the shit didn't look good for a while. He decided to make that decision. He was like, no, I want to play against grown men. And then that shooting percentage wasn't so hot. He was like 26% from 3 and all of that stuff. All I'm saying is just because he has that opportunity to do it, that does not mean it's going to happen. On the flip side, he go back to school and he could go tear his ACL, and then he fucked up either way. I just don't think that the Lakers is the perfect setup for him, because they don't have a history at this.
Let's be real. The Lakers have never developed anybody. Like, through the history of anybody. Like, when they got, just look at like Laker history from the jump. Like, they've always been a free agent kind of team or a trade kind of team. They signed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as a free agent. I think they either traded or signed Will Chamberlain. Magic Johnson they drafted, but Magic Johnson wasn't somebody who needed to be developed. Magic Johnson won NBA Finals MVP his rookie year. Shaq was signed as a free agent. Kobe, I guess you can give them development. Kobe's the only one I give him credit. Kobe had developed. That's it. Kobe was high school. He was green right behind the ears. So Kobe's really the only one I can think out of their entire history, and that's fine. But I think that we're not making it simple enough. We can name all. This is about LeBron, and this goes to the second part of this thing. That I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I feel like more people need to be paying attention to it. The same things that the media, and I'm saying the media like we're not part of the media, but the same things that people killed Kobe for 10 years ago when he signed that poison pill contract they called it. It was 2 years, $48.5 million. And I get it that the salary cap was way lower than it is now, but you signed a 2-year, $104 million contract. You going max. You put your team in the second apron tier, which means you can't add anybody. They can't even add DeMar DeRozan, which is why it looks like DeMar's probably going to Sacramento. You hard cap your team. All these different holes that they had on this team. Pelinka had a good team that won that intramural championship in 2020 and just say, you know what? I don't need these bigs anymore. Let me get rid of them. Let me get rid of a guy who was very important to our championship and won another championship in KCP. Let's get rid of him. Let's add Russell Westbrook. Like, all the things that Pelinka has done has been crazy. Like, look at some of these. Like, why does Max Christie need a player option? What are we doing? Like, there's so many things that LeBron and Rob Pelinka doing that. It's like if you're Bronny, you don't want to be in a situation like this. Of course, you want to be in the NBA. If I was these other teams, I'd call Rich Paul bluff when they said he was going to Australia. You think LeBron wants his son to play in Australia? I was praying that the Celtics did some rival stuff and took him to pick before the Lakers took him. And when you talk about Bang about what the thought of nepotism is to try to not only just get them a job, but to have move up the ranks, the Lakers are the product of nepotism. Look at Jeannie Buss. But what the difference is? Jerry Buss put her up through the ranks. She didn't just start running the Lakers off top. She went and started. She was the form manager first, and they had her running that little soccer team they had. It's like she ran through the ranks, and I think my biggest fear for Bronny. I don't want to be when his daddy retired. They're like, okay, we tried this.
Yep.
This is it. We gonna walk him, because it really feels like to me like LeBron and Rob Pelinka on two different pages. Bron was allegedly trying to find a way to win the championship. I'm gonna take $20 million less, but nobody wanted that $20 million. We've heard Buddy Hield said he decided to take the Warriors over the Lakers because he didn't want to deal with that mess of the Lakers. Klay Thompson said he went to Dallas because he didn't want to deal with the Lakers. With all these different coaches who have, what's called JJ Redick don't have an assistant coach staff yet because all of them are turning them down.
Well, now he got Scott Brooks and
come on now, Scott Brooks
and somebody else. Goddamn, Scott
Buddy
Brooks.
Buddy from Toronto.
Nate McMillan. He got Nate McMillan and Scott Brooks.
With all due respect to those two men. When was the last time the two niggas been head coaches? That's all. But like
they got years as head coach experience.
They got, and then even then I'd be like, nigga, I'm Nate McMillan, nigga. I want to be on a bench for JJ Redick. So it's like my fear for Bronny is I just hope that this isn't something where he's still 19, 20-year-old kid. He looked agitated in that press conference. What's it gonna be like when these niggas that lost 4 out of 5? You know what I'm saying? And somebody got hurt, so now Bronny got to be in the rotation, and Luka's like, oh, fool. Let me do this, because he's gonna be a target. There's gonna be guys like, oh, you only here because your daddy. Like, is he ready for the stuff? Remember the stuff we talking about with Caitlin Clark? The difference is Caitlin Clark is actually amazing, and she is getting elbowed and stuff like that. There's gonna be guys who's gonna be trying to make a point. Well, this is LeBron James' son. We're gonna try to do this to him. So I'm just hoping that he's ready. And I feel like this whole Laker thing is just kind of a mess right now.
Pat Bev ready. Pat Bev is licking
Pat
his shots.
Bev. I know Draymond's clutch, but Draymond mid-game ain't gonna be thinking about clutch. Draymond gonna be talking crazy.
I want to make it clear, just because I know we be clipping shit, and I know people be looking at YouTube. I have no problem with the Lakers doing what they doing. I have no problem with LeBron James making it work so his son could be there. This is a great story. I think it is dope. And it's going to be a sight to see when they play the first game of the year. I just don't think it's a good setup for Bronny James to have a long-lasting NBA career. I don't think Bronny James wants to come in the NBA and be Vincent Askew. I think he wants to go up in there and be a real serviceable NBA player, a great contributor to a team, maybe even a starter. He didn't come here to be a victory cigar. He didn't come up in here to be a 10th or 11th man. And LeBron James don't want that for his son.
LeBron don't want his son to be Jack Haley.
Right. He don't want his son to be Black Jack Haley. He don't want his son to be Ed Neely. He don't want his son to be none of them niggas. He want his son to maximize his NBA potential. I'm just not sure that the Lakers are going to be the team that does that, which means that his ass ain't going to be in the NBA after his daddy retires, and his ass is going to be like working in player development for the new Las Vegas team once they give that shit over to LeBron.
I'm glad you see that next play. And I'll say this, and then we can move on to our next topic too, is I kind of feel too like this is the Lakers. The Lakers are the Yankees of the NBA. They're going to get all the headlines. I'm not mad at that. But this has really become like what it is when we talk about the Cowboys. We know we're doing all this for the Cowboys, so niggas going home in the first round. We're doing all this for the Lakers for them to be a play-in team again. Like that's the thing that is just like, let's talk about some other stuff. And I'm not even mad at LeBron for getting this full money and all that either. But it's just funny how we treat different situations. Kobe was a team killer. Kobe did this. Kobe did that. Kobe did that. But with LeBron, it's nothing. We're not talking about how this has got the organization hold up. They can't make no moves. All the problems they had last year are the same. The only thing you added was Bronny and another dude who was a draft pick. I don't know where they go from here. Like, you can't even trade for a guy like a Jeremy Grant. How you gonna fit that contract in there because of the way this is fit? So that to me is where I see just all of this stuff going. As in, I don't. If I'm Anthony Davis, honestly, too, I'm looking at AD like, nigga, do I want to be here long term? Like, that's what I would look at. Like, when LeBron leaves, because it's gonna be either a year or two from now. What's the plan? I wouldn't believe in Rob Pelinka, man. But let's go on to other stuff going on in the NBA, other moves going on in the NBA. Let's talk about probably the biggest free agent signing, Mr. Paul George. Our guy Dante has been saying for months that he wanted that Clippers duo to be broken up, and they are officially broken up. Of course, we know Kawhi Leonard signed that 4-year extension during the regular season. James Harden just signed a 3-year deal with the Clippers, so he'll be back. Russell Westbrook opted in, but I guess they agreed to search for a trade. They're not expecting him to be back. But Paul George, first of all, I just want to say I'm a Paul George fan. I know it's not a lot of us. I like Paul George. He's a good interview. He's a cool guy whenever I run into him at the Clippers games. And I actually like his podcast. But he's a funny guy. He now signs with the Philadelphia 76ers. I think it's like a 4-year. I'm looking for it right now. I had it up here. I think it's 4 years, 270 million. 212. 4 years, 212. He will be joining taller Kawhi Leonard, aka Joel Embiid. Tyrese Maxey signed a $204 million extension. They re-signed Kelly Oubre, adding that to their bench, and they stole Andre Drummond from the Bulls. So it really looks like
Eric Gordon too.
Eric Gordon, even though that nigga ain't made a shot in 5 years. That really feels like Philadelphia is like Daryl Morey is like, we're gonna go for it now. I'm not mad at Daryl Morey. I think you got to go for it. You got to take advantage of this window that you have right now. The Eastern Conference is pretty much all over the place. Outside of Boston, there's not an actual big threat, no matter what Knicks fans want to tell you, and we'll get into them niggas in a minute. But I like the move that Daryl Morey made. I like the Paul George signing. I like bringing on all those other guys. Tyrese Maxey had a great year last year. He was huge in that first round series against the Knicks. I just don't think it changes the landscape that much because of the two niggas. Paul George always gets hurt. Joel Embiid always get hurt. That's why I call him Bigger Kawhi. And even when Paul George is healthy, let's be real, he doesn't do things that move the needle. And I don't feel like this is going to be enough to stop what's going on in Boston. I could even see them niggas, losing to. I'm still not off Milwaukee. I think once Milwaukee gets a full training camp under their belts, that Giannis and Dame will be enough to be able to compete with other teams. So I like the moves. I'm just not scared about them. If I was any other team in the Eastern Conference, it really doesn't move the needle too much for me. Mikey, what you think about these moves that the Sixers have been making, and does it move you?
I mean, it moves me for the regular season, but at the end of the day, it's just the LA Clippers East. It's just going to come down to around that spring break time, March, early March, late March, early April, where we're going to get that notification where Joel Embiid is dealing with something. He's probably going to miss the first round or whatever, and Paul George is just going to, like that cat PTSD meme that I always post. That's what's going to happen. He's just going to start getting that PTSD that like, oh shit, this is just like when I was in LA and Kawhi was always out when it matters. So, I like the fit. I like, an additional, player that can go ahead and create with the ball in his hand, get his bucket at any time. Paul George, one thing that, he was doing pretty well at in LA was his assists. He could definitely distribute the ball too. You got somebody like Maxey who's gonna go out there and he's a gun. He plays hard, but it all rests on Joel Embiid. The same way in LA, it rested on Kawhi Leonard's health. So I just don't know how anybody can say this is a sure thing that they're gonna be an Eastern Conference Finals team or whatnot. I think for the regular season, they're gonna be one of those teams that is consistently putting up wins. But it's only a matter of time till we get that Woj alert that somebody is hurt on that team, and unfortunately, it happens to be their best player, Joel Embiid.
Joe, man, you got any thoughts on these Sixer moves?
No, Paul George, the nigga who said like, "Oh man, you woke up the bully." I'm like, nigga, you like 50 years old now. We've never seen the bully. Only thing that people give him credit for, like they call him playoff P. Like, what have you done to deserve any of the titles or the reverence or the fear in your opponents? Nothing. And so when I see stuff like that, I'm like, here we go. One injury prone nigga joining another injury prone nigga for another disappointing season. It's just trash. None of them move me. I think nothing will come of it. I don't think that they'll win any real series. If they lost in the first round, I wouldn't be shocked. It's just I'm ready for him to retire. This is trash. I don't want to see you anymore. You're underwhelming as a player. Whatever.
Be a full-time podcaster, nigga.
Oh, yeah, give it up.
Dante, you've been calling for this move for months. For months. I even think you brought up the team name, if I'm not mistaken. What do you feel about this move with Paul George going to Philly?
I like the move. I mean, I did see the meme where they lined them niggas up and it was like doubtful, questionable, probable. So I mean, the reality is like health is really the only thing that we got to really hold our breath on. And like, we've never seen them consistently be healthy. So I can understand why everybody's nervous about that or just already writing it off because when when the only consistent thing about you is getting hurt, like it's kind of tough. But I mean, at the same time, for years I've said Paul George is that guy that he is, the player that more than anybody, even I think more than James Harden, because we've seen his playoff failures. Paul George is that one guy that we wanted to see get over the mountaintop. I think there's not as much bad blood toward Paul as it is toward other players who usually get in that range. And so for him to go over to Philly, yeah, it's a lot like the Clippers where you depending on another player who gets hurt a lot. But I would hope that, Paul being there takes some of that stress off of Embiid and Maxey continues to improve. So, and then you got adding Andre Drummond, who, was stuck in exile with the Bulls, but it's actually a solid backup big that could take some of the stress off Embiid. I think this is a team. I think the top of the East is going to be really competitive and entertaining next season. I know it's easy to just, write shit off right now saying y'all not fucking with Boston. But I think overall, like the moves that have been made at the top are definitely going to make it more interesting going forward.
Shout out Denali Gordon in the chat, man. He's been real active in the chat. He said he's a new subscriber. Shout out to you. He said, come on, Flows. Paul George is my boy. He would have won a title if Kawhi wasn't injured. I don't know if they would have won a title, but I do think they would have beat the Suns in the 2021 Western Conference Finals if Kawhi wasn't hurt. Shout out to Orlando in chat again. He says, Paul George should have went to the Magic. That was another thing that Dante brought up.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
I think the report was they weren't too interested. I don't think anybody. I think the word around it was Paul George was dead set on going to Philly. And I even think that meeting he had with Lawrence Frank and the Clippers was just about. I appreciate the 5 years I'm up, and I will say I don't know what the hell the Clippers are doing. I don't know what the moves they've added a lot of niggas with weird cases. I don't know what's going on over there, but I did see how the new media room looks like, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. On a selfish level. So hopefully the food is upgraded from what they had at Staples Center. Them niggas fell off last year, but that's besides the point. Bang, what you think about Paul George going to Philly?
I ain't mad at the move. I don't think the Paul George move alone moves the needle. But I do think the way that you beat the Boston Celtics, that you got to get quality players to add for depth reasons. Like the Boston Celtics are a deep team. So being that they are a deep team, I think that's how you have to combat it. You have to get Paul George and you have to get the accessories along with it. Andre Drummond is a decent accessory. Kelly Oubre being back on the team is a decent accessory. We haven't really heard Eric Gordon's name like that in the past couple of years, so maybe he can be revitalized. I'm not going to go the route of these teams might lose in the first round. But I also say that because while I think they're better than the lower seeded teams that's possibly could be in the East. With that being said, I think this says more about the East than it does about anything else. For the last couple of years, we've been looking at the East. Even though the Boston Celtics won, they went through a easy Eastern Conference playoff schedule. I think that with some of the moves that's happened on the east side of things, it has evened things out. So now it's not going to be so much of a cakewalk to go through the East. I think it gives what the league looks like they've been looking for, which is parity, and now it evened things out. So I'm not going to discount them for moving on because the Boston Celtics might be the champs, and they do have a deep team, but hopefully they don't be entitled. They don't be title drunk. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully they learn from their mistakes and don't be shit in the bed. But it does make the East a bit even. So I'm actually excited for this season because I see competition on both sides of the conferences.
And speaking of the Eastern Conference, let's go to the team that was a game away from making the Eastern Conference Finals. And they have the most loud fan base in basketball. That is the New York Knicks, man. The Knicks have made a flurry of moves. They re-signed OG Anunoby, 5 years, $212 million. Shout out to OG. He was a big part of that team. I think they only lost 2 or 3 games with him actually in the lineup. And you even got to give him credit for trying to give it a go in Game 7 against the Pacers. He was cooked after like 2 plays, but I respect him for even trying to play. But the big move here, man, Mr. Mikal Bridges, the Nova Knicks family has grown as Mikal Bridges has been traded to the New York Knicks for 4 unprotected first-round picks and a protected first-round pick that came from the Bucks, and there'll be a pick swap for a second rounder. I'm gonna be real, I don't care about any of those picks. I know it's a lot of picks, but when you're trying to win now mode like you are the New York Knicks, then you go ahead and do that. Having said all of that, in the words of Stringer Bell, this is a 40-degree day. And I'm going to say why this is a 40-degree day, because they are putting together a super team of role players. I think the problem here, be able to, I mean, it's just real. The problem here, if you're going to be able to take that next level, if they were 100% healthy, yes, I think they go to the Eastern Conference Finals and they get a gentleman sweep by the Boston Celtics. And I think any Knicks fan out there who think that they would have beat them is smoking dope. They probably should have swept the team and had Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. And if you can, and both of those niggas had terrible series. So if defensively they were able to slow them down, what you think they were going to do with a healthy Jalen Brunson? And let's be real, a nigga who would have took himself out of the game, a healthy Julius Randle. They weren't going to win more than one game against the Boston Celtics. I'm not mad at the move. I just don't think it's something that's going to change things. And it's one thing, as Bulls fans, we all show up our Tibbs, no matter how much Knicks fans want to lie to you and say that the minutes don't hurt. Yes, it does. Well, this is about to be year 4 Tibbs. I'm very weary about that. I don't have a problem with the move. You make that move for Mikal Bridges. He's a really good player. He was very instrumental in the Suns being able to make that NBA Finals appearance 3 years ago. He's a good player, and I think he's going to go even to another level with this good team. But in the NBA, in today's NBA, you need 2 stars if you're going to be legitimately competing for an NBA championship. Shout out to Damien in the chat. He said OG Anunoby is Ronnie Brewer 2.0. I don't really disagree with that. I think he shoots a little bit better than Ronnie, but I don't really disagree with that. Ronnie Brewer would have 8 in today's CBA. But I think it's a cool move. You make the move, but this doesn't put them over Boston. If Philadelphia said, I mean, they barely beat Philadelphia as it was. It was 7 games with Joel Embiid on one knee. So they couldn't even barely beat them with that. So I think if you add the other things that they can't beat Philly, we don't know Milwaukee, a healthy season with them. There's so many other things where I think they're going to take a step back. I don't think they're going to be a second-seeded team. So I like the move, but I don't love the move. And Knicks fans out there, I'm a Bears fan, so I live on planet delusion too. I have no problem with them thinking they're going to go to the NBA Finals, but you're going to be disappointed. Joe, what do you think about this? I know you had a problem with the picks at first, but what do you think about Mikal Bridges going to the Knicks?
Another move that's not a needle mover. Like, that's cool, but I think with every decision that you make when you're trying to better your team, you have to imagine the opponents in your way and how you're going to defeat them. Now, Mikal Bridges is a tough player. He's played pretty much every game he's ever been in. He's a good scorer. All of those things are fine. But is this the move that's going to put you over the hump for the value that you gave them? Like, I know people look at draft picks and say, oh, it's just draft picks, not a big deal. And I disagree highly. But when you give up so much for him, I don't think that you're getting the value back. It's like, for instance, I was talking to my homies yesterday about us buying this pellet grill and how much it would cost. This grill has Wi-Fi in it. It's incredible, but it costs $1,200. In order for me to justify buying that, I'd have to grill like every day for a solid year for me to say, you know what, $1,200 is not that bad. And so when you compare that to Mikal Bridges and compare it with the future of the Knicks, you think to yourself, what's the justification? Picks don't matter until they matter. It doesn't matter if you're actually going to make a nice run deep into the playoffs, if you're going to beat the powerhouses already within your conference, and if you're going to win a title. I don't see anything from that decision that makes me believe that it's justified. To me, it just seems like a waste of picks just to get someone who's cool. It's a cool player, but what am I doing moving the needle? Am I moving the needle with him? And I don't see it. So I got into it with Knicks fans, and I don't know if it was because maybe they're right about the picks. It may be me who is not as much in tune to the value of picks in the NBA versus the NFL is wrong, or if they're just being optimistic fans who feel happy that they got a new signing and they're just going to be happy with whatever it is. Yes, a Wi-Fi grill, a pellet grill. It's a Traeger grill. And so a pellet grill, you put everything in there, and through the connection to Wi-Fi, you can control the temperature.
And so that's kind of fire.
It's fire.
Rich nigga shit.
No pun intended.
That shit sound worth $1,200, bro.
Yeah, I was about to say, if I had it, I'd buy it just cause.
I got a hundo on it. I'll come through.
But it would all, from me, somebody who grills once or twice,
couple times a year.
Right.
You know, it's not a thing. Now, if I have what's called a Blackstone, which is just a big old griddle outside,
Yeah.
I can use that all the time. I can go outside, cook, and call it a day. But a grill, me setting up pellets and then grill it, no, I'm not doing it. And so the justification for it is like, now, again, justification decreases when I have a shit ton of money. If I'm a millionaire, I'm going to throw $1,200. I don't need to have justification. I have money. And so with the Knicks, their money is going to come into their money, not is going to be their actual money, but also the value that they have from picks. And what was it, 4 picks, 5 picks, whatever it was? No, absolutely not. Not for Mikal Bridges.
He said, shot Denali in the chest, says, come on, Scott. You killing me. Cheer for the Rams. Look, LA is my second home, but when I die, I'll be bleeding blue and navy and orange. Let's be very clear, so they can let me down in my casket one last time. I will be a Bears fan forever. Mikey, man, tell us what you think about the Knicks, man. Does this move you any way?
Don't care. No, it really doesn't move me, because at the end of the day, your best player is still a 6'1", 6'1" point guard. And throughout the NBA history, we've seen only 2 teams have won the NBA Finals with the point guard being their best player: Steph Curry and Isaiah Thomas. Jalen Brunson, you are not them. So where are they going to go ahead and get additional scoring, to go ahead and keep up with the likes of Boston or even a healthy Philadelphia 76ers? Because now the Sixers have 3 guys that can legitimately put 30 on your head at any moment. So I don't see it. I mean, this is the ultimate Tibbs fucking grit, hard hat, lunch pail team. They're going to win a lot of fucking games in the regular season. They're going to wear a lot of teams out in the regular season on defense, but they're just not going to have enough offense when it comes to the playoffs and when it comes to, a condensed 7-game series. I just don't see it. You're going to bring somebody back like Julius Randle, and that's cool. Knicks fans have a crazy, crazy high opinion of Julius Randle that I think the majority of us do not. But fandom, right? Fanatic. It's being a fan. It's short for fanatic. So I just don't see it. It doesn't move the needle for me. And like I said, when it comes down to it, they need to get buckets. We saw that this year in the playoffs when Brunson was still healthy. Nobody could get a bucket, So Bridges is solid, catching, 3-and-D, catch in the corner, put up some threes. He's gonna play good defense, but I don't see this being that much of a needle changer.
He gonna be like, oh man, see what I did for Lou Aldane?
You're right.
Almost killed that nigga with a spinal tap. Bang, what you think about these next moves?
Man, keep it short, man. This makes me think of the NBA in the early 90s, where you had a superstar or a good player, a good to great player on the team, and everybody thought that they had a chance until they got to the playoffs, and they was like, oh, shit, yeah, it's Michael Jordan we playing up against. That's what this reminds me of. Like, this is just a player that gets on the team that they feel like that can move the needle and get them to a long playoff run, but in all actuality, it leads you to a second-round exit. Also, look, if this sounds all cool, this whole Villanova thing and all that stuff. So unless you tell me that Tibbs is gonna get fired mid-season and then they're gonna bring in Jay Wright to go ahead and finish all this shit off, I don't care about the Nova Knicks shit at all. It sounds good and all of that stuff, but Villanova won them a national championship. All of these Villanova niggas ain't gonna get you a NBA championship. But it sounds good on paper. It looks good. All of the friends are together. Yay, we was running trains on bitches in Villanova and Philly, you know what I'm saying? And now we hooping together. All right, that sounds good. But outside of that, nah, they're not going to win anything, but they're not even going to win that division. Forgot, Boston's in that same division. So they ain't going to have no banner that's going to be raised in no type of capacity anytime soon. Maybe the in-season championship. Maybe they'd be in-season champions.
The Lakers got that one shining proudly on Figueroa right now. You know what's funny? It's kind of reminds me when Ryan Pauls be happy about signing niggas from Chicago. I don't care. Can these niggas tackle? Like I don't care. They grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. Like, that was very important thing to me. Does not matter to me. Dante, do you have any different take on us?
Like a hometown kid? No, nigga. No, you don't play in that in Naperville. You're not a hometown kid.
Right. Hinsdale is not. Hinsdale is
not Chicago.
No.
But my solution to this is to take an LA approach. We need to rename Cook County Chicago County. It's just my thing.
That's not bad.
Rename Cook County Chicago County, just like LA, which Scott had to inform me years ago. Because I'm like, why is this person saying they're from LA from Compton? He's like, no, it's a county. So I was saying it's a county. I said, oh, these people are already going to say they're from Chicago. Just call it Chicago County because this county is primarily Chicago and the surrounding suburbs. You call it Chicago County, boom, you're not from the city of Chicago, but you're from the county of Chicago.
But even those people in those separate cities, if you meet somebody from Compton or Long Beach, they'll tell you I'm from Compton or from Long Beach. Like,
true.
You know, Hinsdale. If you've never been on CCA and heard loud, you're not from Chicago, like at all. But before I run through these next three little smaller moves, Dante, you got any take on the Knicks? Any different or no?
No, I do. I think this is a very good move, and I think one thing we got to give Tibbs credit for is before they got hurt last year, none of the Knicks were starting when the top 10 of minutes played. Like he had really done a good job of spacing it out, and he just had to rely on who was healthy when shit got tight at the end of the year. So I think this is a team that got hurt at the worst possible time. So bringing everybody back, including Julius Randle, who say what you want about his game, he's 20-10 when he's healthy. I think this is another team in that is set up well to make it tough for Boston, because one thing we talked about Boston is they got layers that they just throw at you. Like no matter who they bring on the court, it seems like at all times they have 5 people that can shoot the basketball. So I think with the Knicks, you now have a very deep roster. And again, like we keep saying, bro, like they got hurt at the worst possible time last year. So I think if they can stay healthy going into the playoffs, it's gonna be entertaining in the East for sure.
The loud boys on the red line, yeah, them the sock man. I ain't been on CTA in 10 years, by the way. I will pay the $5 to not have to deal with the CTA. Let's be very clear about that. I don't. It said
right.
go.
There's nothing wrong with the CTA.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. I just don't know these young niggas' new lingo.
Hey man,
like I said, we the unks. We the unks. I'm not trying to have no drama.
As a once great black philosopher once said, definitely concerns me a little bit, but I pack that thing too.
Pack that thing too. You know what I'm saying?
I'm concerned very little. One of us is going to die.
I don't have a pistol, so I don't relate to that. Yeah, nigga, we know you.
The hollows is right here, brother.
Yeah, we know you do. Ghost of Geralicious. I even know these. I grew up on the mean streets of Forest Glen. Better recognize. My bad. Triple OG. But these next three moves, I'm just gonna kind of run through.
All right, enough of that. How about you take a different frame photo on IG? Then you can start.
How you talking about Orlando? Yeah, Orlando, man, you gotta
nigga be in the camera like this every time. Gosh, nigga.
Yeah, man, Orlando, man.
You be like this off work.
Keep your little sister from him. You gotta stop taking them type pics, bro. But these next three moves, I'm just gonna run through and I'm gonna get y'all see which one y'all moves you the best, if any of them moves you the best. These are smaller moves that went on. DeJounte Murray, the bando of the Atlanta Hawks, and will be going to New Orleans to play with Zion Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans. I was gonna say Brandon Ingram, but that nigga's probably not gonna be on the team by the time the season starts. So you got that. This move I really, really love. Chris Paul, I mean not Chris Paul, but KCP will be going to the Orlando Magic. That's a big blow for the Denver Nuggets. And then we've got Chris Paul to San Antonio. I hate saying this, but the move I like the most is Chris Paul to San Antonio. Yeah. You know, I just don't get it. You know, I'm upset about this because y'all don't know anything about any content I do. I do not like Chris Paul at all whatsoever. But I think Chris Paul is the perfect player to help Wemby take that next step in his evolution as a player. He's gonna get some of the easiest baskets he ever got because even though Chris Paul is old, if he's healthy, the nigga can still pass the ball. He's gonna give him great setups, and then Chris Paul's gonna be playing under Popovich. I love that the most out of all these moves. I think the second one will be KCP to Orlando. That's a good move. That's gonna help them there. I think that's a damaging blow to Denver. Don't really care that much about the DeJounte Murray just because is Zion gonna stay healthy or not? If Zion's healthy, then I like that move. But until Zion plays a complete regular season and a complete playoffs, nothing that the New Orleans Pelicans does, I really care about. I'm going to go back to you, Dante. Which one of these three move you, if any of them?
I think honestly the most one is CP3 to the Spurs. I think every time we've written off Chris Paul, he's went to a new team and really, reinvented his career. And I think going with a guy like Wemby, with a coach like Pop, and that entire squad, he's going to be able to add a couple more years to his career. I think KCP to Orlando is, I like that move because they need a veteran down there, and KCP has shown you he can be that vet. But I think that team's still 1 or 2 years away from really making noise, especially with how like I just said, the East is pretty top heavy now. DeJounte, that's cool, but seeing a lot of the numbers he put up here in Atlanta, if Zion ain't healthy, it don't matter. Like that's where we at with it with New Orleans. We all know it's all up to Zion, and so far we haven't seen him healthy on the court when it matters most. So I agree. I would say that CP3 to the Spurs is probably the best move out of those three.
Bang, you like any of these moves?
I do love this. I do love the CP3 move to San Antonio, not just for a Wemby standpoint, not just from a Wemby standpoint, but just from a draft pick standpoint. Who they got? What's my man name? The pick that they just drafted.
Spurs?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Stephen Castle. That's what it was. With him being a point guard and somebody that can learn from CP3. And then you have Wemby right there that's going to get a lot of great looks. You have a second coach on the court. I mean, low key, not trying to hot take anything, but it'd be hilarious if in 2 years the new head coach of the San Antonio Spurs is Chris Paul. Because if he want a coaching job after this, he gonna get one. But no, I like it for multiple reasons, all around the young pieces for the team, and then they still have draft capital too. So I love this move.
Joe, you like any of these moves that we just named?
I really like CP3 with the Spurs, but I'm still wondering, like, how old is this man? How long has he been in the league?
39.
This is 2005. Yeah.
Yeah. But, man, I think that's just a positive move for the Spurs in building a young team, especially around someone as, like, being very, very brief. Wemby was the one player that made me just have to, respect and honor the sheer amount of talent. Because when I saw him, I said, he ain't going to do that at the pro level. Oh, boy, was I wrong. And then you add Chris Paul into there, who is just an experienced player, who's tough, and then just can guide young players. I think that's a great move. Everything else is sort of underwhelming, but for me, that was a very solid move.
Yeah, and if anything, too, I think Chris Paul just was going to really love playing on the Pop more than anything. DeMar DeRozan has said that he loved playing on the Pop. I think there was a rumor, too, about DeMar, which might have tried to go back to San Antonio, but I really like that move, man. Y'all know how I feel about Clifford Paul, but y'all see, did y'all finish Clipped? They tried to make this nigga seem like he Kobe and this competitiveness. I'm like, get the fuck out, man. Like, stop it. Stop it right now.
Again,
Clip is actually not a bad show. It's just terrible.
It's no bully. It's all garbage. It's no bully. It's all garbage.
OKC made some big moves. Of course, we talked about the Alex Caruso trade a couple weeks ago, but they signed Isaiah Hartenson to a deal. They needed some size over their paws. Do y'all think that
Whoa.
this is? I said pause. I said pause. They were already the number one seed last year, but do you think these moves? You know, how Caruso is great as he's been valued. I think he's still undervalued. Caruso can add 10 wins to your team just off what Caruso does. Hardenson is a really good center that I think is going to be great to what they add. And then you got another year of Shea. Do you think this should make them the favorites in the Western Conference? 'Cause I really love what they did. To me, they've had, like you said, like Alex just said in the chat, they've had the best offseason so far. And they still got all those picks to make other moves if need be. Mikey, do you like what you saw from the Thunder this offseason?
Yeah, I like OKC. I think they've had the best offseason, by far. You got to go ahead and capitalize on that young talent. Getting, a big to kind of man the post with, Chet while Chet is still developing. I think that's really big for them. Now, I don't know if they're gonna have that outstanding type of season that they had this year, wins and loss wise, as far as being, what were they, the 2 seed? I still
They were
think
the one
Denver's gonna
seed.
the 1 seed, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it was one and then many two, right? I just don't see. I see Denver coming back hungry this year. I mean, a lot of people just need to kind of take into account. Murray was hurt for a decent amount of the season. Jokic had been playing the most basketball, consistently that he's been playing over the last couple, years. So I think they were just tired legs. MPJ had some regression, but I think they're going to come back hungry. So I don't know if this makes OKC the favorites, but they're top three. They're a top three team in the West. And as long as SGA can continue to improve, Chet can continue to take that next step, then yeah, they're going to be a team that's very tough because SGA is very similar to Luka. Like, they move somewhat kind of slow, but it doesn't fucking matter because they're gonna get to their spots and they know their spots. And when they get to their spots, it's over for you. So we see it all the time. With SGA and just his ability to create space, whether it's a mid range, whether it's driving to the cup. So I like them. I just don't know if I think they've had the best offseason for sure because anytime you can add somebody like Caruso to that team and you got the two Jalen's, you got Lou Dort, they're going to be tough. I just don't think they're the favorites.
Dante, you think this makes them the favorites? Or you think that this is just something that probably pay off in the playoffs, but it's not going to change that much in the regular season?
I think favorites are still putting a lot on it right now. This is still a young team with a lot to prove. I think they're going to be better, of course. And, it's hard to say, how can I say that if, they were already the 1 seed and this is going to make them better. But no, I still don't think they're favorites. You still got to get that playoff experience for the rest of the team. But I do think it helps them out a lot, especially Caruso and the defender that he is, because a lot of the games that they lost them on the defensive end, bro. Like they would be up. And then when they couldn't buy a bucket, they couldn't get a stop. And Caruso is a guy that's going to help you get those stops. Like you said, a guy like Hartenstein going to be being in the middle, holding the shit down. So I think that helps them out. But I still think it's way too early to talk about favorites, especially with a young team like OKC.
Joe, you seen what Caruso did for the Bulls, a much less talented team than the Thunder. Do you think that this is going to help them, get closer to a championship?
That is a tricky situation because it depends on what someone is incredibly defensive can add to a team that is seeking to add not just defense, but even more offensive firepower. I think if it gets them closer to a championship, it's a few inches more. But all in all, I think the best thing that comes from it is not even just his technical and defensive savvy. It's the amount of impression that he leaves on people when he is playing his game. Players just seem to play harder defensively around him. And I think it's an incredible addition. He's one of the best on-ball defenders I've personally watched. So, no, I think that's 1,000% a benefit. I just don't know how much I can say they've gained defensively, like how closer that gets them.
Bang, what you think about this move?
I love it. I think they still need a little bit more. I think they still need a true creator at the point guard position to help them out. But I do love the move. Anytime that you could get size, length, pause on the team when you're going up against a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who has nothing but, and you have the Denver Nuggets, who have it too. the majority of the teams in the in the West have that, and that was one of the things that hurt them even going up in the Dallas thing. Dallas does not have a lot of size, pause, but they had active players. So I think that's going to help them out in this case. I don't know if I peg them as the favorite though, but that these are definitely strides.
Yeah, a few inches was crazy, just like Orlando said. But you said pause. We don't let that slide. This next one I'm gonna combine these two. It's kind of like a 2-part question. The Splash Brothers era is officially over, which I think we all saw coming. If anybody watched Klay Thompson play basketball last year, this is something where it was a gradual decline because of that injury he suffered 5 years ago, and then the injury he suffered a year after that on his recovery, tearing his Achilles and then tearing his ACL. Just the fact that he was even able to show anything when it came to being able to even contribute to them winning the championship 2 seasons ago. He was straight up ass last year. And now Klay Thompson has signed a deal with the Dallas Mavericks. It was part of a 3-team sign and trade. He will be joining Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. And you got the Warriors on the other hand, man. The Warriors, they just traded for Buddy Hield. Doesn't really move the needle, but they are one of the teams who are interested in Lauri Markkanen, former Bull Lauri Markkanen, who's been really, really good since he left Chicago and Cleveland. He kind of gone to a next level and became the player that a lot of Bulls fans hoped he'd become in Utah. For me, I'm gonna look at it like this. I really don't care about this Klay move. It doesn't really matter where Klay went to me because he's just not that guy anymore. His shot isn't falling like he used to. Defensively, he is terrible. He's nowhere near where he used to be defensively. And this doesn't help the Mavericks at all. I don't even think the Mavericks problem in the playoffs, not playoffs, in the finals, just Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic need to play better. I think that's just the straight up solution with it. It doesn't matter what team Klay would have went. It wasn't going to change anything about it. Klay's just in this area right now where he's just never going to be the player that he used to be.
Yes, that's what it is.
I don't really, and as far as the Warriors is concerned, I mean, look, if they get Lauri Markkanen, I think that'll help them tremendously. Then I'll really, really like the Buddy Hield move. I think their championship winning days obviously are over. They're not going to be a championship team. They can't beat OKC or probably can't even beat Memphis healthy, Minnesota, Denver, any of these teams. That window's closed. But I do feel like if they can get Lauri Markkanen, they can be able to at least compete in the playoffs. When you have Steph Curry playing the well he's been playing, and Draymond stop hitting niggas, I think it'll be good. But none of this really moves anything. I think both of these situations, the Mavericks, Klay and the Warriors, it's a wrap for what we used to know them being. Joe, you said that he's asked, what do you think about both sides of the coin for the Warriors and for Klay?
He should have retired. That's my take. I don't know what it's like to be at the end of a career that depends upon your athleticness, your physicality, and not have it but keep going. With the Warriors, it was dickhead basketball at its core. It was exciting, but all eras end, and that's cool. And sometimes I feel like I underestimate how strong a facet that ego plays in. And with Klay Thompson, all this stuff is coming out, which could have been just, I don't know, PR stunting. But when it comes to Klay, I don't think he moves the needle for anybody because physically he's just not there anymore. And it's, for me, I thought, as long as he had that shot, he would always be a benefit to somebody. He could be 50 and still be freaking trail paper crop. He'll be 50 and still giving buckets, but he just does not have that anymore. And so does not move the needle. It might move a needle backwards, if anything. So he needs to retire. That's just really the take. I'm sad that he's still around in the NBA. I would love to hear a podcast or see him on a boat somewhere with a white woman drunk. He don't need to be on the court.
And let's be clear, Klay is the first ballot Hall of Fame. He had an amazing career.
I keep forgetting NBA. I mean, the Basketball Hall of Fame is so much easier because in the NFL, if we did a comparable, he's not first ballot 10 years from now, sure. We got, what? Matter of fact, we need to make the standards tougher. We need to make the standards tougher.
Well, this is going to get a conversation we was yelling at Pappy about 2 weeks ago. We had the Drew Holiday conversation.
He's first ballot, but no.
I think, Orlando said that. No, I said that he go. I didn't say he's first ballot. I said he was going in.
I don't know. I can't give you a like. Give me somebody who's in there that they were solid or good, but they're in the Hall of Fame.
Now you know who I'm gonna say.
Who?
Tracy McGrady. Chauncey Billups is in the Hall of Fame.
This is disrespect.
Y'all know I
No,
love.
he'll get that. He'll get there.
I love Vince Carter to death. Vince Carter's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's relax.
I love Vince. You know I love Vince Carter.
Oh, I know. But Tracy McGrady had a better individual career than Klay Thompson did. Very easily too. Didn't have the championships, but individually, much better. So that's not bad. He's like an 8-time All-Star. It's fine.
Damien doesn't like when I talk about his Tar Heels. Look, I love Vince Carter like he's related to me. But we got to be real about this. But that's going to lead to a whole nother conversation. Last topic, and we're going to close this first hour out, and we'll get Joe up out of here, and we'll head to our second hour. Jason,
hey, man, Vince Carter's an 8-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. Let's
no, but that just goes into what we're saying. This is the NFL. He's not getting into the Hall of Fame to a couple tries.
Oh, yeah, he's doing the Richard Dent era. You get
my point is that they played in T.O.'s face.
That's true. That's true. And we need the same thing for basketball. Klay Thompson, 5-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA.
Yeah. But Jason Tatum's having one of the best summers ever. Jason Tatum's like a nigga who didn't do nothing on his group project and got an A. Like he came in like he was like the third or fourth most important player in this Boston Celtics championship run. He went out there. Nobody really cares about it like that. He got LMA pregnant. Round of applause, my nigga. And on top of that, this nigga just got a 5-year, $314 million contract. So my question to y'all, because first of all, I have no problem with the contract. He's worth the money, whatever.
Hey, shouts out to that St. Louis area code, though.
Shout out to the St. Louis area code.
314.
314. I'm pretty sure that was a little bit of intentional. He took $1 less because of that. I said on Twitter that I feel like we're probably about 15, 20 years away before we see the first $1 billion contract. I'm going to go to my brother first because he 100% disagreed with me. Go ahead.
You're never going to see $1 billion contract while I'm still alive. Now, of course, there's inflation. There's things that change. But $1 billion contract? No. Right now, I don't know if there's what is the highest MLB contract all time, Scott? If you know, just off the top of your head. Maybe Dante knows.
It's Ohtani's. Ohtani has the highest contract. He has the highest contract in North American sports.
What was that?
$700 million.
Now, he deserves that simply because the sheer amount of what he can do. But even still, the MLB has had much larger contracts than the NBA. And just because something is increasing doesn't mean it will increase exponentially. Eventually, there will be a lull, and then contracts will stay at a distance it's staying at right now. We're just starting to see $300 million contracts right now. We're not even anywhere near the range. I thought the first $1 billion contract, honestly, was going to be Shohei. He didn't. He got 700. And so I'm not predicting the NBA that does not spend as wildly on contracts as the NBA does. That does not spend, and the NBA doesn't spend as wildly on contracts as the MLB does, that we'll see the $1 billion athlete come out of there. So I'm not believing it. And again, just because something increases doesn't mean it's increasing exponentially. There will be a lull and we'll be plateaued and we'll just kind of stay there for a while. I think right now, just because so much has changed within NBA, the CBA, that things are getting incredible, but I'm not seeing that $1 billion trend. And that's a huge sum of money, and it has to justify itself through the market. And I don't see it. I don't see it while I'm alive. I'm 33 years old. If I stay alive another 50 years, I just don't see that happening.
Not only that, we need an actual player worthy of it.
Yeah.
And you have to be. So if the bar is set in baseball, you have to be better than Ohtani. I don't see anybody like that coming for a while. So that contract might stay where it's at. In the NBA, we're about to lose our LeBrons. We're about to lose our Steph Currys. The future of the NBA is in whose hands? Somebody like Victor Wembanyama, but that's health. the freshman, but that's health considered. And we know guys at that size have a very hard time staying healthy throughout the duration of their career playing basketball. So, we not only is it probably not going to happen, but we need a player to be worthy of $1 billion contract. And I don't know, when that player is coming.
Do y'all
Yeah.
think Wemby has a shot at it?
No,
I believe so.
No, I don't. This is
No.
to everybody's. I agree with Flows. There's going to be a bubble that eventually bursts, and it's going to level out. Like TV contracts aren't just going to keep getting to the point where we look up in 10 years and Apple gives them $1 billion to do this shit. I think it's especially with basketball, you'll probably see again more of these 4-year deals, 5-year deals, and well, you may see a $400 million player, but a lot of that is contingent on what you are able to bring it off the court, and that's why you see guys getting these deals. You see Bron get $50 million for a season, 2 years, $100 million. So I think the contracts in the NBA, they may get a little bigger, but it's not going to get to the point when you get $1 billion player. The Shohei, especially with the money being deferred. Yeah, but even with that, like Shohei is the dual aspect. It's the fact he's a hitter and a pitcher, and the market that he brings over from Japan. So it's all of the money they know they're going to make but they're like, we'll give you $700 million because we're going to make $1 billion off of you quite easily. So like that's different, and I think it's not too many athletes who have that appeal now. And even with the NBA, extending their reach across the globe, bringing in all these Frenchmen, no, I don't. $1 billion for a single athlete, and I also don't think owners don't want athletes to have that type of power. So eventually they're going to find a way to put a cap on these contracts.
I mean, A-Rod signed his 10-year, 252 near 20-something years ago. 20-something years later,
He's still getting paid.
I know. We're getting Shohei. How many years is that? 600, 700, however long it is?
12 years, right?
It's 12
I believe
years.
it's 12.
So
It's 12
years.
years.
And so
he has options in the back end.
Yeah. And so if it's any league, it would be MLB, but that's going to come into how do you deal with revenue and everything else. Now, the only thing that I think that could dramatically change it, if somehow Saudi Arabia started owning an NBA team. Saudi Arabia will spend anything. And
that's what I was going.
The family, the Crown Prince family, has ridiculous amounts of money. Like, I don't even know if there's an accurate number to say how much money that they have. That's oil money. If they got involved in the NBA, well, then all bets are off. They might throw $1 billion at anybody. $1 billion at anybody.
But even with that, if you'll see what they did, soccer, they got rules. So kind of like how in the new CBA they have the tiers, where if you go over certain tiers, the taxes get crazy. In soccer, they got to the point where it's like, all right, y'all, like y'all are doing way too much. Y'all can't just sit here and buy every fucking body. So like they still have penalties that they put in. So like even with the Saudis, it's gonna get to a point where the other billionaires are like, no, bro, y'all can't just spend all this money and then we sitting here looking stupid. Yeah. So I think that ego and that from that sense, those owners who have been there for 40, 50 years, these families that have owned these teams, even when the new money comes in, because you see it now with these venture capitalists that are buying teams, and they want to go over the luxury tax. And, people in baseball were mad at Steve Cohen because he's like, fuck it. I could, shed my whole roster and double back if I want to because I got the money to do it. So I think there's always going to be a checks and balances that come into play. So I think $1 billion is going to be tough. Like you may see another Shohei deal, but $1 billion for one player, that's just, I don't think we'll ever see that.
It's a ridiculous amount of money. Yeah.
As we get up in age, $1 billion don't sound like much as we get older. And that's what's going to happen. Like, it's just not going to sound as much as you start seeing other people come in and purchase teams, and you start to see more ways of getting money out of these streaming platforms and all of these other things. In 15, 20 years, $1 billion is not going to sound like much. For us, we're going to be like, God damn, these players getting all this money. But then we're going to sound like we the unks. We're going to sound like the old niggas. Just like when fucking Juwan Howard got a 7-year, $100 million deal offer sheet for the by the Miami Heat. And the NBA was like, nah, you can't have $200 million players on there. So they had to rescind that offer, but he still got $100 million from the Washington Bullets, aka the Washington Wizards. As we get into years where we're starting to see players like Pat Williams get 90 million, and then when you look at it at the grand scheme of things, that might be a bargain because in a couple of years, that's when the league money will run out. So actually, that'd be a contract on the low end. Like, as we get older, $1 billion ain't gonna sound too bad. And while it might be a while for that to happen in baseball, Wemby will probably be the person that I believe that'll get the closest to it. In baseball, the way they throw money around, somebody's gonna get it. There's going to be more billionaires in 20 years than it is now. The fact and it's where the money is that they have compared to anything else. I would not be surprised in 15, 20 years that there's a baseball player that gets $1 billion contract. There's some white kid right now in Omaha, Nebraska, that their parents are prepping for this kid to be the first $1 billion athlete, and that's gonna happen in baseball.
Shit, I'm about to go try and do a little something with my girl right now. I need it to be my kid.
Hey man, I got a 5 year. Hey, look, Trey, nah, Liam, nah, Landon.
He said, I'm right, partner. Denali, he said, we stream on Fridays. We're doing the NFL season to be Monday and Fridays. We appreciate you subscribing to the channel. I'll say this, and then we're going to wrap this first hour up. We're going to get Joe about it. It was funny that I saw that Derek White got the $126 million extension. Then Jay Tatum got $314 million extension. And then the owner of the fucking Celtics was like, what? I'm gonna sell you niggas. I'm gonna sell this team now.
Get the fuck up out of here.
I'm gonna cash out now. My value will not be any higher than we are right now. Fresh off the championship. I've owned this team for 22 years. I'm up out of here, man. But that's all we got for the first hour. For Joe, as usual, it's always great to have you on here. Before we get you up out of here, we know that training camp is in about 2 weeks from now. We'll be reporting. We'll be getting ready for our first practice in 2 weeks. What is the one thing you're going to be looking forward to seeing for training camp for the Bears?
I'm really going to look forward to seeing a continued growth of the culture that Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus have laid. You're adding in a veteran defense with a veteran, meaning them being together, playing so well. So having experienced defense that has chemistry and is played together with an offense that is reshuffled and added a lot of new pieces and has a signal caller who is a rookie. I'm interested to see how bad that will affect the offense. Like training camp, I'm expecting the defense to get the better half of the offense for quite some time before it makes a shift. I'm looking at Horla's comment. I'm honestly not worried about him being trash. Like, and if he does, you just go back to the drawing board again. Only thing you can do is keep going. As it stands, 33 years old that I am, I'm sort of numb to the concept of it being a bad QB. We had to sit through Mr. Trubisky and then Pat Mahomes becoming baby goat. I'm desensitized to it, and so in knowing that, it's just I want to see what will happen. I think right now expectations for fans the fans who want the offense to be great need to be tempered because the defense has experience together. They're probably going to shine on him. If Caleb does come in and smoke, that's great. But I think right now I'm most anticipating a really dominant defense early on, and outside of that, positives for the offense. I think Romo Dunze is going to be a really, really good player straight out the gates. I think, of course, right now you're looking at DJ and Keenan as a 1 and 2, but I think Rome will do enough that he might start seeing the ball earlier and quicker than the average rookie will. And I think that will blossom during training camp. So those things I'm looking forward to, and at the end of the day, man, I'm desensitized. I don't think they can hurt me worse than they already hurt me. So the only way to go up, the only way from here to go is up.
So Bang, are you gonna cuss him out like you cussed me out when I said anything about?
Nah, because Joe's bigger than.
See how you do me.
Joe's.
See how you do me.
I could take you, Joe. That's a fight that I
This
don't feel like having.
is untall
Smart
hate.
move.
At 42 years old, I ain't trying it. Nah, I'm straight.
These hands have never been more lethal. So I
There you
understand.
go. Joe, whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? No, Joe, whatever you want. Whatever you feel is best here, I'm going with you. Scott, I can take you.
See the disrespect.
Hey, if I was 5 years younger, I would cuss him out and yell at him like I did you. But I know I know my limitations. I'm sitting here with a knee wrap on my knee right now.
That's a damn shame. This is justice for the untall. Anyway.
All is hilarious.
You can follow Flows or F Flows Andolini on all social media platforms. 79th and Hollis will be back in 2 weeks as we get ready for football. In order will be restored. We will be reviewing the NFC North in the local hour. We're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll be back for hour number 2. As we're gonna talk a little bit of baseball in the second hour. We'll be right back.
Triple double hat trick, I know the code too. Ice trade, go for trade, yeah we cold too. Getting paper on these player haters, old news. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the second hour of I'm Not Gonna Hold You, man. Before we get into some baseball, we're gonna talk a little bit of football, man. We all know the Chicago Bears will be hosting Hard Knocks, the real Hard Knocks, the training camp Hard Knocks, in a couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to that. But there is a new Hard Knocks that just debuted 3 days ago called Hard Knocks Offseason. They obviously watch this program because we're called I'm Not Gonna Hold You all season. But anyway, and that is based on the New York Giants, man. And I was real skeptical about this when it got announced. I was like, who cares about offseason, especially with a team like the Giants? But I watched the first episode, about 35 minutes, pretty good, and I'm already hooked. I really love to see how like these general managers move around and do things, and you see the different conversations they had, regarding Daniel Jones, regarding Saquon Barkley, and regarding, even said a little bit things about DeAndre Swift, who the Bears just got, which got me excited as well. And I think this is going to be something that's going to be interesting going forward with other teams who are eventually picked for Hard Knocks. And, now we've also got the in-season Hard Knocks, but it's division. This year will be the AFC North. I think HBO's got something here, which is something that they need to find, because in this world of social media and with Instagram stories and TikTok, and we can always see what these players and these organizations do. It used to be like a behind the scenes type of thing we only see on these type of shows, but I do like what I saw in the first episode. Mikey, what did you think about this first episode? Compared to what you originally thought about when this was announced, compared after what you saw the first episode?
Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of the idea of it, but after watching the first episode, this shit is tailor made for somebody like me. Like, I like the behind the scenes player development, player scouting, the contract negotiations. I like hearing how teams value their players, especially like for us, we're really big on, on our football teams, right? I want to know what they were thinking going into the Saquon, contract situation. Do we franchise tag him again? Do we offer him a contract? How do we value him? How do they value the rest of the running backs that were available in free agency? So I love that. I love the honesty. I didn't think we were going to get this. I love the honesty and them just being like, look, we paid Daniel Jones all this fucking money. Like, it's on him. This is his time to show us if he's a guy or if we need to make another decision at the quarterback position. So I really like it. I like the back of the house. I like to see how the food is made. So this is really good, man. It's kind of low key boring Friday night, after we're done here. And I was hoping that they were dropping another one, So I just looked up the schedule when it's coming out. So it's on Tuesdays. But I'm definitely interested in watching this.
Bang, what you think about from what you saw from Hard? Did you even see Hard Knocks? I know.
Yeah, no, I watched it. I watched it, and I loved it. I'm one of those people that when I play a video game, I'm more excited about building a team. When NCAA comes out in a couple of weeks, I've already earmarked a couple of teams, and I'm gonna make dynasties in 5 years, stuff like that. Like, that's what I am. So, I also, like, if I were to still be in sports, I would want to be a scout. Like, I love this type of thing. So seeing that and catching all of the honesty was dope. to see their breakdowns of the players and see what everything goes into in creating a NFL franchise. No, I loved it. They got a viewer in me. And I did like when they said that about Daniel Jones, because now you get to match what some of these pundits say on these debate shows and all of that. You get to match it what these guys are actually out here saying. So no, I love it. It breaks down the fourth wall in football.
The football fourth wall, definitely. Dante, what you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's dope. I think anytime you give people an inside look, we always talk about people having too much access these days, but I mean, I think this also feeds to the belief that a lot of football fans are, smarter and more knowledgeable about their teams than other sports fans, because they do give you these moments, and I think this is something that's dope, and it actually educates fans more. And also lets you know that sometimes these folks just be throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like, it's not always a formula and plan for some of these dudes, and you see that here. So I think obviously take everything you see with a grain of salt, because there are other dealings and other ways they do things that they're not going to ever show on camera in any way. But I think for this is another dope thing for the fans, and another dope way that the NFL is connecting with fans, giving them multiple avenues to really access content involved in the league. It's not always about the players. And this is another way for us to tap in with the other side.
It also got me even more excited for the Bears Hard Knocks. Like, I really can't wait to watch that. It's going to be very fun to watch. We're going to let Bang head to the bench for about 20 minutes because we're about to talk some baseball on this show. So we'll be bringing him back in the local hour, man. Me and Dante did an interview with our guy, Russ Dorsey. If you don't know who Russell Dorsey is, man, you've been living under a rock, man. He's Yahoo Sports, MLB analyst. He also works for Apple TV Plus's Friday Night Baseball, which I have on my TV right now. Phillies and Braves going on right now at Truist Park. And he is also works for the MLB Network. Me and Dante had a nice little 40-minute conversation with him. We will play 5 minutes of that interview in the local hour. Those little things he said about Tim Anderson, I think that you guys need to hear. And if you want to watch the entire interview, it is currently up right now on the Barbershop Network, patreon.com, Barbershop Network. If you are a baseball head, man, you need to listen to this real good baseball talk with me, Dante, and Russ. So we'll play a preview of that in the local hour, man. But I want to talk about something that we kind of talked about in this, but just get more Dante and Mikey, y'all opinions, man. We're basically almost at the midseason mark, a little bit over the midseason mark. We're about 10 days away from around All-Star break. I want to talk about who are the best teams in baseball right now, man. We've seen, it kind of went from the Yankees as being as good as they were. They've fallen off. They've been playing some bad baseball these last couple weeks. The Orioles have went back into that spot. We all know how good the Phillies have been and how good that the Dodgers have been. Mikey, which teams to you are the best right now as we are at this halfway mark a little bit?
Well, you got to start with the cream of the crop right now for this year, and for the first half, it's the Philadelphia Phillies. Even without Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber the last week and a half, they're still racking up some wins. They're still playing good ball. They're still getting contribution from from a lot of their guys. Alec Baum, Trey Turner's back and he's healthy. He had a couple home runs in this last series against the Cubs. So you start there with the Phillies. And then I go over to the AL East, and the Baltimore Orioles are for real. Most teams that would lose 3 starting pitchers to season-ending injuries would not, be able to sustain like this. And here they are, 2 games ahead of the Yankees right now. The Yankees are starting to slump, like we predicted. So I'll go with those 2 teams right now as being the best 2 teams in baseball for me.
Yeah, those are definitely 2 solid picks, bro. I think for me, despite the struggles that they've had around them and the injuries, I still got to go with the Dodgers. I think right now, that team with Shohei and everything he's doing, I think they're going to be able to withstand the storm. With Mookie being out, was it 4 to 6 weeks with the broken wrist? I think despite all of that, that team is still going to be able to run over the East, like you said, the National League. I'm sorry. I agree. Philadelphia has been amazing all season. But I think with that team and just the way the NL East plays each other every year, they still got some series with the Mets coming up, still got some more series with the Braves. So when the dust settles, and we'll see how much those three teams beat up on each other. Especially, we saw Atlanta trying to recapture some of the old magic. They signed Eddie Rosario to a minor league deal, trying to get some help in that outfield. He struggled all year, so I don't know how much of a needle mover that is, but we still see them trying to make moves. But even with everything Philly's done and how consistent they've been all season, I got to go with the Dodgers. And in the American League, one team, speaking of consistency, their offense has surprised people all season, and they really haven't fallen off yet. But I mean, you got to look at the Cleveland Indians. I'm sorry, the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians have been really surprising, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You got a guy like Josh Naylor, who's really been a force in the middle of that lineup with Jose Ramirez. That was somebody who they really wanted to see take that next step this year, and I think Josh has definitely done that. So I think I got to go with the
And
Guardians. I know,
and not and not
the
even and don't forget Stephen Kwan. Don't forget
yeah,
Stephen Kwan.
he's officially a qualified batter. I believe he's hitting 380. But I think that's a team that's definitely going to make some noise come playoff time. And like you look at the AL East is tops heavy. The Yankees, this is the third year in a row we've seen them get out to an extremely hot start and then start to waver off. So I am worried about the Yankees. I wasn't at first. That is my World Series pick, and I'm not going to change it yet. But that's the team I worry about. And Baltimore, bro. Baltimore has been amazing. But I think right now, just in terms of consistency, I'm going to go with the Guardians. And I think the Dodgers, when it's all said and done, will come out as that number one seed in the National League.
And I'll say this: what a year for teams such as the White Sox to have a player like Garrett Crochet. What a year for teams to have, starting pitching that they're ready to move off of, because there are a lot of these teams, even the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Orioles, the Phillies could even use another arm just if they want to, get crazy with it, to add starting pitching at the end of this month. So it's going to be really interesting to see who goes ahead and goes all in, because this is a wide open season this year for me.
Oh yeah.
Well. Look at the turntables. Yankees fans kind of good. Can I say this? I am not a practicing White Sox fan anymore. It brings me so much joy to see you Cubs fans being brought down to fucking earth. Mikey, I wish we had that meme that you posted on Twitter a couple days ago. Who has the worst record since May 10th? It's not the White Sox. It's them boys up north. That's who it is, man. I'm gonna continue to go with the Dodgers. Now, I'm gonna say this just because Shohei Ohtani is playing some of the best ball he's ever played, and he was with the Angels. He's always been great, multiple time MVP. I've seen him play live multiple times, but what he's doing right now is crazy. Alex said, "Here they go." Yeah, you damn right, Alex. Don't curse the Bears because you're on a little streak right now. You're on a little streak, as the homie Isaiah likes to say. But I look at it like this, man. I think if they can find themselves and make a good trade during the deadline, if they go out there and get them a Garrett Crochet or any other these other pitchers that's available, that's the number one thing. I'm not worried about this offense. Hopefully they get Mookie back right before the playoffs start, and we have a lineup as stacked as they do, with as well as Shohei's been playing, as well as Freddie Freeman's been playing. Teoscar Hernandez having an incredible season. They've just been a really, really good lineup. I still think right now they'll be the favorites, at least coming out the National League. The Yankees been playing some bad baseball, but ultimately I'm not really worried about them. I think they're going to find a way to bounce back. I think that they played so well at the beginning of it that I feel like, it was just bound for them to go through a little tough streak. And outside the AL, there's really nobody else I'm looking at. I like Baltimore. Can Baltimore, take it to the next level? Can they actually beat the Yankees? Because one thing we're seeing from the Yankees is these last year from Aaron Judge was no fluke. I think he's the best pure hitter in baseball right now. Mikey, I know you said you got another comment about the Dodgers. Go ahead.
My number one issue with them is pitching and the health of their starting pitching, and something that nobody is really talking about right now. Tyler Glasnow is already approaching like the most innings he's pitched in a single season. He's on track to blow by that. So if you, for any reason, knock on wood, Dodgers fans, but if you were to lose Tyler Glasnow for any stretch, that it gets spooky there. There's only so much that your offense can carry you. So I think between the Dodgers, the Orioles, there's a bidding war there for starting pitching, and we're gonna see who's willing to give it up.
Who do you
Hey,
think is gonna be? Go ahead.
not to cut you off, but let me say this, and I gotta say this to all the Cub fans who are trying to shit on Dansby Swanson. One thing y'all fail to realize about Dansby in Atlanta, he wasn't the star. Like, Dansby was not the guy, never asked to be the guy. Like, he had clutch hits and shit like that, but it was never a point where it was like, man, this team goes as Dansby goes. No, nigga, they had Freddie Freeman, they had Ronald Acuna, they had stars around him, and the Cubs have yet to do that. So until you put some stars around him and just tell Dansby, hey, go out there and play Gold Glove defense and get us some hits. I don't know what y'all are expecting when y'all signed him, but no, this looks like Dansby with no protection. So I'm not confused about it at all. I'm not shocked this is happening right now. Y'all didn't put the pieces around him.
Y'all
He was the Carlos Boozer of that shortstop free agency.
Mike, you took the words right out of my mouth. I tweeted that 2 years ago, and y'all wanted to stone me. It is what it is. With all those other shortstops available, you got the Carlos Boozer.
Trey Turner showed him this week. Showed him this week live and up north from Wrigley Field. He showed them exactly what a real shortstop looks like from the plate and with his glove.
A Phantom look like a Chrysler 300 until a Phantom pull up. That's what you surround that nigga with Christopher Morel and 35-year-old Patrick Wisdom. What do you expect to happen? He ain't got nobody say you want a career. Yeah, I want a lot of things, nigga. Y'all was never getting that. Man, period. It just was not gonna happen.
The Cubs will never get a $350 million player. Not while the Ricketts are the owner.
Here's the thing that was the funniest shit to me, and then we'll move on to these all-star rosters. It's the funniest thing to me. Cub fans thought their front office was any different than any other front office in the city. It's not. Once you won that championship, which is 8 years ago, and by the way, we're 2 years away from you being able to not have to, you can't bring it up no more. It's a 10-year rule. I can't brag on the Bulls 1998 NBA championship. It was 24 years ago. I can't even brag on the White Sox. I was 17 years old when the White Sox won that championship. Y'all got 24 months, about 26 months to brag on that championship for. You can't bring that up no more. You gotta look at what they've done. And the Ricky's like, oh, we won that championship. We're not spending any more bread. I don't even think they were really even in the Ohtani talks. And yes, they've done a really great job of building up that farm system. I think they have the number 2 farm system in baseball, if I'm not mistaken. They did a really good job with that. But as we've seen in baseball, whether you look at the White Sox, whether you look at the Toronto Blue Jays, even look at how the Cubs played after they won the World Series. These prospects are no guarantee. Prospects are what the word says. Prospects. And I think that's got to be the toughest thing to swallow for Cub fans, is that this front office is no different than the others. It's the same team. You guys are going to keep packing up Wrigley Field. You're going to keep going to these games. You're going to keep going on the road, and they're going to continue to give you mediocrity. It just is what it is. And I even fell for a little bit too. I swore when they signed Craig Counsell and gave him that big contract for a manager, they were going to actually spend money. So I was a little shocked at that too. But in the words of Michael Rappaport, in the now estranged Sean Diddy Combs, back to the ghetto you go. Let's go to All-Star. We got All-Star. I think All-Star is what day is All-Star? Is it July 15th or some shit?
July 15th, yeah.
Okay, July 15th.
Like a weak ass Tuesday or some shit.
The 16th. Yeah, the 16th. Yeah.
Very underwhelming home run derby. None of the stars are really competing in. I think the biggest name is Bone from the fucking.
Oh, you got Gunner. You got Gunner in it.
Got a little young blood in there. But
they haven't announced the rest of them, right?
They did say some of the bigger names like Shohei and Aaron Judge and guys like that aren't going to be in it. So maybe this will be more of a young blood type thing. But they've announced that the starters for the National League and the American League, and I'm gonna want to get you guys' thoughts on this. We're gonna start off with the American League starters. At catcher is going to be from the Baltimore Orioles, Adley Rutschman. He's having a really, really good year, helping the Orioles be the number 1 team in the AL East, and they're having a great year, coming off that surprise year last year. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. from Toronto, he will be starting at first base. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Jose Altuve. They're only a game behind Seattle, by the way. Don't count Houston out. He will be starting at second base. The man that Mikey just brought up, Gunnar Henderson from Baltimore. 2 starters for the Baltimore Orioles will be starting at shortstop. The man who we hate on the South Side probably more than anybody, Jose Ramirez, back at third base starting for the American League. The man who I think is the best pure hitter in baseball right now, Aaron James Judge, will be starting in the outfield. He will be joined by his partner, Juan Soto, Stephen Kwan of the Cleveland Guardians, who's having a crazy season, and at DH, of course, the man whose home runs sound like gunshots, Yordan Alvarez. Man, Mikey, what do you think about this American League lineup?
I like the American League lineup. I probably, it's hard to go against Stephen Kwan with what he's doing. But there's an outfielder in Boston that I really love, Jaron Duran. And I think, he deserved, a shot to possibly be starting. But when you look at the AL, it's pretty solid. I think it's when we get to the NL, there's if you're not a diehard, there's some names there that you're really gonna be like, who, they're definitely missing some people, obviously due to injuries. But the AL is pretty stacked right now. As a gambler, man, that's where my money will be going on July 16th.
Where's the All-Star game at this year?
It's in Dallas,
Texas. Oh, Texas, right?
It's in Fort Worth. Arlington, wherever where
the Rangers play.
Yeah.
Dante, what's your take on this American League lineup?
I mean, it's tough going against the American League, bro. I think it's one of those things where like we need to start finding ways to spice this shit up because it's getting pretty mundane. I know baseball is one of those All-Star games you can't fake baseball, so we get a pretty good game. But I think this is one of those ones where you see the lopsidedness of the rosters. Look at the talent overall. You look at the teams in the National League, bro, and just at that what they've been putting out. I think it speaks to the amount of good pitching you have in the American League. Well, I'm sorry, in the National League, and that's just overall because I think hitting has just been down across the board. I think like you got guys on daily rosters hitting 196 and shit like that. So I think the All-Star game has suffered as a result of that, despite the fact that you do have the best baseball players in the world. But I think, like you said, when it comes to this American League roster, they're gonna be tough to beat. So I mean, more the same.
Do All-Star games across sports have a problem right now? 'Cause I feel like we're saying the same thing with every sport. What can we do to make it better? Like,
I think with this year though, you just got a lot of injuries to some star guys. Mookie Betts is out. Bryce Harper was obviously voted in. Now, will he play? I don't. Will he be back before then? So I think this year, Ronald Acuna is out. When we get to the NL and we go through, who is starting in right field. That's probably somebody that you want to have starting in right field at the beginning of this year. So I just think it's really just player availability. Shohei Ohtani, I know you mentioned that he's not playing in he's not participating in the home run derby, and I understand it because he's still going through rehab. With the Tommy John with his elbow, and at the end of the day, they're already down Mookie, so they can't afford for him to go down. The same with Aaron Judge. He's having a monster year, but they're down Giancarlo Stanton. We don't know how long they're gonna have Juan Soto on that team, if he's gonna be a long-term Yankee. So they're prioritizing September and October baseball, and I'm not too mad at it.
we were talking about teams being cheap. That nigga Cashman better write that fucking checkbook out because if you think that Juan Soto ain't gonna make you pay up, you got another thing coming. You better act like you the Yankees. Let's go to the National League, man. Starting at catcher, former Cub. Well, actually, no, I'm getting him mixed up with his brother. No, you came from the Braves farm system. He is now in Milwaukee. William Contreras, the brother of Wilson Contreras, will be starting the catcher. Like you just named, Mikey, Bryce Harper will be at first base. Whether he plays or not will be the question. He is still not returned to the Phillies lineup. From the defending National League champions, Ketel Marte will be starting the second baseman. Of course, he's with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Trey Turner, he showed you the difference between what a Phantom and 300 Chrysler was this week. He will be starting at shortstop. The Phillies got three starters. Alec Bohm be starting at third base for the Philadelphia Phillies. Christian Yelich from the Milwaukee Brewers will be out there in the outfield. He'll be joined by Yerkison Profar of the San Diego Padres. He's having an incredible season. He's always been a good player for them, but this has been a real breakout season for him. The man is back. Fernando Tatis Jr. will be back in the off and is making his first appearance in the outfield as a all-star starter, and then of course the man Shohei Ohtani will be at DH. This is a good lineup, but it's kind of like what you said, Dante, about the American League. This looks like play compared to the American League lineup right now. And I will see how the rest of this fills out. If you look at the standings in the National League, it looks very reminiscent to the NBA Eastern Conference play-in kind of standings. There's not really any great teams in the National League outside of the Phillies and the Dodgers. That's why I think it'll be the difference. But it's baseball. What are the pitchers going to be? What are those matchups going to be? That really determines who's going to win this game. But it's definitely a lot less powered, especially if a Bryce Harper doesn't play this game. Mikey, what you think about how the National League put their starters together?
I mean, you got to have representation for the Philadelphia Phillies. Obviously, they might have had another one if JT Realmuto didn't get hurt. So you got to have that there. Mookie obviously being hurt, he doesn't play shortstop. I like it. I think when you get to maybe the reserves of the NL, I think that's maybe where we'll start to see some guys that you could have argued should have started if it wasn't kind of for fan voting. And I think the NL might be sneaky there. You probably got guys like Ellie De La Cruz, Marcell Ozuna, 100% needs to be an all-star. So when you look at it, though, when you're just going starter for starter, obviously the AL is fucking stacked. Probably you got to see how many days he'll be on rest, but you're probably looking at Tariq Skubal starting for the AL or Garrett Crochet versus pick somebody from the Phillies, more than likely. So we're gonna see. We're gonna get a clash of two different styles because the NL is gonna obviously try to keep the game close with good pitching to start it off. Where the AL is probably going to just want to jump out and start hitting some fucking bombs. So I like it. It's cool. Jurickson Profar, former number one, used to be the number one overall consensus prospect in baseball when he was coming up. It seems like every time he gets back with, San Diego, he kind of takes off, like down year with the Padres or down year with the Rangers. Then he goes back to the Padres and he takes off. So really good to see him this year. He's been a bright spot for them, but when you look at third base, the guys that are normally there just aren't having a good year. Nolan Arenado has been fucking terrible. Manny Machado has been hurt and terrible. So next man up, and I think it's good to see some new blood in this game.
Dante, man, anything move you about this National League lineup?
No, I'm with Mikey on the. New blood is always cool. It's always good to get some new faces on the national spotlight. So I love that. But overall, no, I'm not excited about this All-Star game. I think I'm not gonna lie, just as a whole, man, even with the superstars not participating in the home run derby, I know we don't always get the sluggers like we used to back in the day where guys were coming out there trying to win that title. I kind of, he got clowned for it, but I appreciate Pete Alonso and his enthusiasm for the home run derby because he gets, players want to see the best home run hitters come down to the All-Star game and hit balls out of the stadium. So, but no, National League, the National League is, I'm not going to call it a joke because these are all professionals, but I mean, they're showing you why they're League Two. And like to Mikey's point, the injuries definitely don't help at all.
Yeah, man, we going to sound like back in my day, Barry would have played. We don't.
I mean, flat out.
Keep saying.
I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool if Vlad joins in since he won it last year, right? To see if he can go ahead and he's playing in the game. I think it'll be cool if we see Vlad. I want to see. We were talking about give me fucking Josh Naylor. Give me somebody who's gonna send that bitch fucking 475 in there, and I'll be cool. The home run derby is entertainment. Obviously, you want to see the best of the best, but I'm cool because a lot of these motherfuckers can park that ball wherever they want. So. As long as we just get a good matchup, last year, Luis Robert was in it. You had J-Rod, you had Vlad, you had Randy Arozarena. People really didn't think that he was going to be able to put up the numbers he did. You had Mookie giving up that terrible performance. So it's not always the name. It's not always the name, So I think that'll be cool. But, the All-Star game, that might just be, might watch Hard Knocks for a little bit in between since it's only 30 minutes, then jump in.
All-Star game, definitely commentary off music on type deal if I do watch. We're gonna take another break and we back for the local hour, man. We're gonna bring Bang back in for that. We're gonna play a preview of me and Dante's interview with Yahoo Sports, Apple TV Plus's Russell Dorsey. We're going to do our first of 8 division breakdowns. We're going to do a division breakdown every week leading up to the NFL season. And it's just only best that we start this with the beloved, the NFC North. Now in this, we're not going to be making our predictions yet. We're just pretty much doing a state of the union of each team and what the storylines are going to be heading into the camp, heading into this offseason. Heading into this regular season for all those teams. Then we're going to talk about a little bit of the market for Zach LaVine. Why isn't that moving? DeMar DeRozan possibly on his way to Sacramento. And the Bulls actually deciding to go young, man. So we right back in a couple of seconds.
Triple double hat trick, I know the code too. Ice trade, go for trade, yeah we cold too. Getting paper on these player haters, old news. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the
We gonna bring Bang and Bang. Hit him with the vocals, man. Hit him with the vocals. You on mute. There we go.
Oh man, who put me on mute?
I
It's the
don't know.
local hour.
There we go. It is the local hour, ladies and gentlemen, presented by absolutely nobody. We are
It's
still
the local
searching
hour.
for sponsors.
It is sponsored by Some Dude Podcast.
Sponsored
Make
by
sure-
Some Dude Podcast. Right. We need to get like an old school Chicago. Shout out to Docs. Let's get a Doc sponsorship up in this bitch. What's up? What's Baba's doing, nigga? Baba's got a couple dollars for me, man. What's going on, man? But before we get into the football aspect of things, man, me and Dante did a nice sit-down interview with our homie, friend of the show, Mr. Russell Dorsey, man. He couldn't join a live show because of course, he's busy right now. He is doing Friday Night Baseball, which is right now Apple TV Plus. Check that out, man. He's a columnist also for Yahoo Sports, does some things with MLB Network as well. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about who the best teams in baseball, Cubs issues and things like that. But we had a real good conversation about the fall off of Tim Anderson, for his last year with the White Sox, and then coming here, getting cut by the Miami Marlins, man. So we're going to play 5 minutes of that interview. You can watch the full interview on Patreon right now. So we're going to get into that real quick.
For TA specifically, it is an interesting trajectory because you're talking about a guy who grew up as a hooper, was a superior athlete, played baseball kind of on the side, and turned himself into a first-round pick, became a player that the White Sox were looking to for their future. And then he had some serious struggles, at the big league level, and got himself to a place going through some things in his personal life where, his best friend gets killed and having to deal with that and, go through the mental grind of losing someone that close to you, as well as try to be the best in your field and try to be great at your craft. And to be able to come out of that and be one of the best hitters in baseball for 3 to 4 years, it's pretty remarkable because you look at the White Sox and where they were at the time. They haven't really had a player like him, in quite some time. And so he was, and Lawrence Holmes, that's my guy, said it best yesterday on his podcast. He was like, for a time, he was clearly the face of the White Sox, and for a hot minute, he was the face of baseball. You know what I mean? Like when the White Sox were good, in 2021, where people really were paying them, giving them a lot of attention. And, you had the White Sox on national TV. You had people picking the White Sox to go on and get to and win the World Series. Like, that's not fake. That go back and look. It was people that said it. Your favorite. We're picking the White Sox to make deep runs in the postseason. And to go from that to, a team in 2022 that disappointed, to go to a team in 2023 that disappointed. And then, Jose Abreu goes and signs in Houston, and that doesn't work. But like you mentioned, it's more towards, age, and, the bat slowed down significantly, and he just wasn't able to revert back to that MVP form that we had seen in Chicago for all those years. With TA, I know a lot of people talk about the off the field issues, and I think it gets overblown with TA? Yes, I do. And because look, y'all know how professional sports is. TA not the first brother that got caught out here. TA
Definitely
is the brother to wild out here. You know what I mean? But when you put yourself in a position where you are in the public eye, and you have something like that comes, becomes public, you got to face that backlash. And not only did it affect him in his personal life, but his play suffered as well. And so you leave people nothing else to point to, when it's like, hey, you were great up until this happened. And after this happened, you were no longer great. Now, I know for TA, there was a lot of injuries in there as well. Knee injury when, somebody ran into his leg. That took him a while to come back, came back too early. Then you had the wrist. You had some other things, nagging injuries here and there. But it was things just kind of snowballed on TA. And you watched the guy that wasn't able to get himself out of it. And going into this year, I looked at the Marlins and I said, all right, this is not a good baseball team. Before a guy like TA, who, if you take away 2023, where it looked like he just had no power, injury still, and 2022, more injuries and the off the field stuff, it's a guy that had hit over 300, won a batting title in multiple seasons. And so it looked like that was the right spot to bounce back. But we're not even at the All-Star break yet. Yeah. And one of the worst teams in baseball says, hey, dog, we're going to go to this young kid. I think it's a moment where if you're TA, you got to take a step back and say, okay, where do we go here? What's the next steps? And I was talking to a friend of mine, Chris Young, the black Chris Young, not the GM Chris Young.
Yeah.
Black CY. And CY said he had been in that spot before where you hit 300 and you're an all-star and everybody's saying, oh, you're the guy, and you hit 25 homers and you're feeling really good. And then you have that moment where something just happens and now you get DFA'd and you get released. And he said, look, there's a path for him back to the big leagues. But CY says, I had to be humble and go play in AAA and tear it up there. Then I had to get myself a 1-year deal. And from that 1-year deal, you get a 2-year deal. And from that 2-year deal, you get another 1-year deal and another 1-year deal. And before he ended up retiring, he got 5 more years out of his career after he was quote unquote done. And so for TA, that's probably going to have to be a similar path that he goes down.
Shout out to the homie Russ Dorsey, man. We had a nice little 40-minute conversation, man. A lot of good baseball talk. He goes into more detail about the TA situation, talk about Jose Abreu, just the White Sox fumbling their whole rebuild in general, Cubs problems, and we also talk about, favorites in the MLB. So if you want to check that out, it's actually live right now on the Patreon, patreon.com/Barbers Network. So check that out, man. Let's get into this football. We are approximately 2 weeks from today. It will be report day. It will be report day. My brother will be holding it down. I will not be at report day because I'll be working on a top secret project that I cannot talk about right now, but a very exciting project. We'll be shooting in Los Angeles. Very
top secret.
Very top secret project. I will inform you guys off there. Very top secret project that I am working on right now. So I will not be at report day, but my brother will be at report day, giving you all the interviews of all the players, thoughts on arriving to camp. So that'll be interesting to talk about. But the first practice, at least for, in general, will be July 20th for the Bears. The fans can't come until July 26th. And I know I'm going to sound very rich people problems right here, but I hate fan practice days. I say this is a man who is about to begin his 4th season covering the team. It's way too much traffic on fan practice days. And add the HBO element to that this year. It's going to be even more hectic. But we're going to be doing division breakdowns each week leading up to week 1. And we're going to start. We're not going to make any picks until we have our NFL preview show. That'll probably be the week of week 1 and the week before week 1. But we're going to just give State of the Union of each team and, kind of the top storylines in that. We're going to call this Inside the Division. So this one, we're going to start off with the beloved Inside the NFC North. So we're going to go around the table with each team. So it's only right that we start off with a team that won the NFC North last year, and that is the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions went 12-5 last season, was half away from advancing to their first ever Super Bowl. And now they're coming here. They a new extension for Amon-Ra St. Brown, new extension for Jared Goff. They've added a couple nice pieces in the trenches in the offseason. They're primed to take it to the next level so they can actually advance to their Super Bowl. For me, it's like this, man. With the Lions, and I say this with not trying to be too high on the Bears or anything like that, but just based off how they've played against them recently last year, I'm not worried about the Detroit Lions. I'm a Bears fan. But I do think that now it's going to be a little different. In the words of Bane, nobody gives a damn about the Detroit Lions. All the eyes are going to be on them. Not to say that they snuck up on anybody last year, because they, with them almost making the playoffs year before, so they didn't sneak up on anybody, but now top in the division. They won the division for the first time in 30 years. They know they were a half of Dan Campbell playing Madden from going to Super Bowl. So can they take that? They're playing a first place schedule now. They weren't playing a first place schedule last year. Now the schedule is a little favorable. They don't play an outside game, I don't think, till week 12. Like it's something crazy like that, like with actual elements. I think the other teams they play either got domes or they're in warm weather cities, so they got that going for them there. But to me, the things I'm going to be looking forward to, will Jared Goff continue to play as well? Is he going to take a step back? Will Dan Campbell learn from the mistakes he made last year? Because if I was the players, I'd be upset. Dan Campbell, as much as he's done for that organization and for those players, he to me was one of the sole reasons, if not the sole reason, they lost to the San Francisco 49ers. So can he get out of his own way? Those are things I'm going to be looking for them. Will the defense be as dominant as they were last year? The secondary is a little better. The secondary was not good at all last year. And can Jameson Williams take it to the next level? Those are the things I'm going to be looking for, especially off year 2 of Jahmyr Gibbs. What's that's going to look like? Mikey, what are some things that you think about this Detroit Lions outlook heading into this new season?
Well, first off, I think it's going to start and then with the quarterback. Can Jared Goff continue to ascend in Ben Johnson's offense? I think it was the biggest win for them this offseason was retaining Ben Johnson, because you keep that continuity. Those players in the offense, they know the offense. So now it's another year understanding his schemes, understanding his route trees, understanding where they need to go. For Jared Goff, it's the cadence, it's playing behind that stout offensive line. So I think that's their biggest acquisition of the offseason was retaining Ben Johnson. But for me, it's all going to come down to Jared Goff. Can Jared Goff continue to play at the level that we saw him play at last year? They have what they need in the trenches, offensively and defensively. We know they're going to be tough there. It's all just going to fall down on the quarterback. So I think that they're still going to be very good. I know you said you're not worried about the Lions, and I'm not worried about the Lions either. The only people you need to worry about are the Bears. And, the Bears need to worry about themselves, and that's, just coming from us speaking as Bears fans. So I think the Lions are going to be solid. I don't think that there's going to be a drop-off as far as them being prepared to play, because we know how Dan Campbell keeps his guys ready. I just think it's going to be contingent on, can Jared Goff continue to play at a high level, at the quarterback position.
Bang, you infamously said nobody gives a fuck about nobody gives a damn about the Detroit Lions. Do you still feel that win? What do you think the things you're going to be looking at for them heading into this season?
Unfortunately, I don't still feel that way because of what they've done. But it's they got to prove it still. They got to prove it. I mean, they're more than capable now, but they got to prove it. And I'm looking at that defense, most notably that defensive backfield. With that defensive backfield, which should be improved, they spent the draft capital and free agency on that. We'll see what happens, but they're not the boogeyman, or they're not like the top dog to me, to where we're looking at this and we're like, these Detroit Lions, they looking scary. No, they don't. They're not scary to me. But at the same time, no, we got to account for them. But that defensive backfield is going to need to be much improved if they want to keep a stranglehold on that division.
Dante, man, what you think about the Lions?
I think the biggest thing for the Lions is, how do you manage expectations after your failure last year? Like you said, they were a half away from going to the Super Bowl. Some questionable decisions, decisions that you had made all season that have pretty much been a part of your play style, but they cost you the game at the end of the day. So, I want to see how the head coach adjusts, bringing the offensive coordinator back, which he made a very good point. He was like, when you look at the jobs out there, how many of these people are going to have a job in 3 years? So, he made a very good point saying he loved the personnel they had in Detroit, and they've added to that. So I want to see, how do you manage expectations and how do you keep your team, hungry and driven, knowing that, windows close real fast in the NFL. I mean, he acknowledged it a bit after the loss. He said, I can't just say we're going to be back because you never know. That's not how the league works. So I think, they still have a lot of expectations with their team. And, Jared Goff is still going to be a big part of everything they do. So, like I said, it's a matter of how do they manage the expectations coming into this season after being, a half away from the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that, man. Let's go to the team that finished number 2 in the division, the dreaded enemy, the Green Bay Packers, man. The Green Bay Packers finished second in the NFC North. Jordan Love's first year as the starter. He had an incredible rookie, not a rookie, but like kind of rookie season, which would have set Chicago Bears records. He threw for over 3,000 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. And as much shit as I talk about the Packers, man, I was, even though I got to see it again, from not just him, I got to see it again from CJ Stroud. I got to see a lot from these year 2 quarterbacks. A lot of things change when you have a full summer of these defensive coordinators having film on you. So not to say that he can't do it, but it's going to be a little more interesting to see how it's going to be when he prepared. But coming off just sitting on the bench these last couple years and, sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, and we're now seeing just how much of a pain in the ass he is. He had an incredible season. He had a rough patch in the middle, but he really heated up towards the end of the season. 32 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, real good. The Packers themselves finished 9-8, won a playoff game, won and could have won two. They could have beat. One thing about the Niners should have lost both of them games to those NFC North teams they faced. But Jordan Love put up a crazy pass, like one of the funniest passes I've ever seen in my life, to Dre Greenlaw, which ended their season. But for me, the thing with Green Bay that I'm going to be looking at is kind of, can this young talent, they have the youngest roster in football, can they take that next level? They don't really have any big name wide receivers. Christian Watkins had a good season last year. Can he take it to the next level? What about Romeo Doubs? And can we look at Jordan Love as a quarterback where we don't look at him kind of saying we looked a little bit of Jared Goff when he's with the Rams. We knew it was all mainly Sean McVay feeding him. As great as Jordan Love was last year, we know a lot of that is LaFleur. Like I said during the regular season, I was not familiar with your game, Matt LaFleur. I thought you were a product of Q Aaron and Aaron. I thought that was more of him, more than his actual play calling. But that dude is a master play caller, and he's really, really moved him into that next level. So is Jordan Love going to be a player who is great no matter the system, or is he going to be somebody that, okay, he can still make the mistakes he made last year, maybe even more because teams know his tendencies, where he's going to throw here, when he's looking at this certain way, what's he going to be? Because there's more pressure on them now, because now Packer fans are expecting things. They're going to expect you to follow the lineage of a Brett Favre, who should be in prison, like Aaron Rodgers, who should also be in prison for no reason, but just because he needs to be in fucking prison. He's got to figure that thing out. So that's what I'm going to be looking forward to. And also the defense. The defense, I think is a little overrated. Can they take it to the next level as well? So I think they've got some of the same questions that I have for the Lions, but not as much pressure, because I don't think that the NFL as a whole is expecting the same things they're expecting from the Lions team-wise. But I do think a lot of NFL media and pundits are expecting Jordan Love to take that next leap, because we already see people talking about contract extensions off just 1 year. So that's what I'm going to be looking forward to see. Mikey, what you think about the enemy up north? What are you expecting to see from them, and what storylines you think they're going to have going into the camp and going into the 2024 season?
Yeah, I think the number one storyline obviously is just going to be Jordan Love's growth, and the fact that, they're in a youth movement. They've moved on from some, beloved, up there in Wisconsin, beloved veterans, and, David Bakhtiari. They've moved on from Aaron Jones. So, you bring in somebody like Josh Jacobs, Josh Jacobs has been saying he's been seeing things from Jordan Love that, clearly, can show that he can be, one of those elite guys. And we saw it last year. He really does look like number 12 back there at times. So I just want to see now, similar to what you said, there's film on him. I think they need a guy at wide receiver. I truly do. I understand that, LaFleur was able to do a lot with little, Dontavius Wicks, Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson when he was there, when he was available. They're all young players, good players, but if we think that defenses are going to go ahead and start clamping in on Jordan Love and making things a little bit difficult, I think he's going to need that for surefire number one wide receiver there that can go ahead and make things easy for him. So for me, that's what I want to see in the passing game. And defensively too, they went ahead and they made a change. Joe Barry is no longer their defensive coordinator. Obviously, there was a difference in philosophy there. So I want to see, how they come out. They do have some young pieces back there in that secondary. And, they still have some nice pass rushers on the line. So it's just going to be really about youth on that offensive line and, Jordan Love going into year 2 as the guy, if he can build on it.
Bang, what you think about our arch enemies?
I was really hoping that they was going back to the ghetto. I was hoping. I made all type of comments, statuses, everything that they was going back to the ghetto. And hopefully they go back to the ghetto. See, this is 1 year of Jordan Love, so I really believe that this is prove it time, and I understand why the Green Bay Packers is not running to give him a contract extension, because now different schedule, different team. We'll see. But at the back half of the year, if I am to believe that the Bears defense for the last 6 games of the season is what they will be this year, I have no reason to think that Jordan Love is not that either. So remains to be seen, but it looks like I'm not about to say they got them an Aaron Rodgers or a Brett Favre, but they got them a quarterback. We'll see if he's better than Don Majewski. Makowski, excuse me. Don Makowski. Let's see if he's better than Don Makowski.
Hey, man. I think for the first time in my life, even though I know that they're going to be a good team, and I do think the Packers are going to be a good team, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not picking the Bears to beat them because I learned my lesson the first time, but I'm not as afraid of them as before. Now, that might that might backfire on me, but that's just how I feel at this moment. Dante, what's your take on these Packers heading into this season?
Yeah, it's all about Jordan Love. I know we could talk about the defense and everything like that, but just seeing how he continues to grow. Because if he continues to grow, then that team is going to continue to be good and challenge for the division. Mikey said they made some changes on defense. I'm interested to see how that happens, how that pans out, because over the years we've seen them get smoked running the ball. They haven't been able to stop the run in the playoffs, and it's come back to bite them several times. So seeing how they shore up their defensive line, shore up their run game, run defense, see how that goes. But I think at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to Jordan Love and what he does in year 2 and how he continues to grow. If he stalls, if he sees, a little bit of cracks in his game and teams are starting to adapt to him, then that's going to cause the Packers to suffer. And I really think this is a division like no, home bias aside. It's going to be really tough this year. It'll be really competitive. So they're going to need him to continue to grow and not, stall or take a step back. So that's what it's all about. It's going to be what Jordan Love does.
By the way, Bang, we get off topic on this network all the time. I have a topic for some sessions that's going to make Pappy lose his shit, by the way. Shit. That's going to be fun. But anyway.
Can't wait.
Going on to the third team, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, terrible year last year, coming off their playoff appearance the year before, which was a bad playoff loss to begin with. A playoff appearance that made Daniel Jones generationally wealthy. Mainly because Kirk Cousins got hurt. They started off pretty decent, but ended up finishing 7-10, did not make the playoffs. Same record as the Bears, but they had a edge. I think they had a better division record than the Bears, so they finished the third. Um, Kirk Cousins left. He's now Dante's roommate in Atlanta. He is Bankhead Kirk Cousins. And now they drafted JJ McCarthy, who Bang says will be a coach in about 5 years.
Yeah, he'd be Nazareth's head coach in 2035.
2035, Nazareth's head coach JJ McCarthy. They signed Sam Darnold, who gets another life, and he has been told by head coach Kevin McConnell that he will be the starter. And how many times has he been told that in his career? I'm pretty sure by midseason, something's going to change. So you got that. You got Justin Jefferson, the highest paid wide receiver in football currently. And they've got a good defense they're going to be bringing back. And of course, they got one of the best offensive minds at head coach. I think this is an interesting team for the Vikings to me, man. I can honestly see it going either way. You got the quarterback situation, which is going to be a big topic of conversation with anybody. But you know the old phrase: if you got two quarterbacks, you ain't got one quarterback. I think that's going to be something to pay attention to. If Justin Jefferson got paid, but that's not going to take away any frustration of him having bum niggas throwing to him. You have a good defense. Is that going to be wasted? We're going to really see just how good their coaches are calling plays. I could see them sneaking in and making a playoff appearance with like a 9-8 record, or finding a way to sneak 10 wins. I could see something like that, but I could also see them being a 3-4 win 10. Nothing about them would surprise me, and that's why I think it's a very interesting team, because it really could go either way. I don't think they're overwhelmingly bad or overwhelmingly optimistic at the same time. Mikey, what you think about this Minnesota team? They got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, they definitely do have a lot of stuff going on. I'm a big fan of Kevin O'Connell's offensive, game plan. We obviously know he comes from the Sean McVay tree, and he's able to have some success there. I want to see, how long. I want to see how Sam Darnold looks first off. For the fact that he's getting this second life, and I want to see how long that leash lasts. One thing that we've all been saying about JJ McCarthy is he is extremely young. Like, he's young in age, he's young in football years. I think it would benefit him to have a legitimate redshirt season. But is Sam Darnold going to have, one of those streaks where he's having 2 to 3 picks, back-to-back weeks, and the fans are going crazy asking for JJ McCarthy? So I really want to see that there. They also had some interesting pickups on defense this year. They went ahead and they paid Jonathan Bernard. They add somebody like Van Ginkel from Miami. They went ahead and they added to their secondary. They're gonna probably be a tough defense, like one of those sneaky teams, like be able to keep it close. And then you got Aaron Jones that they picked up, run the ball with Aaron Jones. You still got Jefferson. You still got Jordan Addison. You still got Hawkinson. So they have some weapons there. If Sam Darnold could be serviceable, and with their defense playing tough, they'll be tough, tough to go up against, pesky. I still don't think that there'll be anything this year. I think this is the team that will be in last place in the NFC North. It actually might benefit them to get a high draft pick, to go ahead and pair with their young quarterback, pair with the young wide receivers that they have, going forward. So they're gonna be a tough team to deal with, just because they're not just gonna lay there and die down. And we know Kevin O'Connell can call, some good offensive game plans. But I think that this is going to be, step one in their rebuild.
Bang, what you think about the Vikings, man?
I do think this is a sneaky team. I think this team is going to go as far as their defense takes them. As much as, Kevin O'Connell is an offensive genius and all of that stuff, you're dealing with Sam Darnold, and I don't think that J.J. McCarthy is going to be as good as advertised, which is why he's going to be a head coach at Nazareth in 2025. But you got Justin Jefferson that's over there. You got a decent offensive line. Running back, I want to see what happens there, and see if the running back room is going to be able to help out Sam Darnold. But this team is going to go where their defense takes them. Brian Flores, second year in his system. They got some good free agent. They had some good free agent moves, and I just trust him as a defensive coach. So I don't think they're going to be like a 3 or 4 win team. I think that you're looking at a 7 to 9 win team there, because they're going to have a defense that's going to keep them in games.
I definitely forgot that they signed Aaron Jones.
And they also drafted, so you signed Jonathan Grenard from Texans, and then they draft Dallas Turner, So they're young. They're going young on defense, and they got some guys.
And the Aaron Jones things, his last couple of years in Green Bay, he was oft injured. Especially last year with his hamstring, I believe it was, that was hampering him. So we'll see. We'll see. But this is also not Kirk Cousins back there. This is Sam Darnold back there. So, this, I don't necessarily see this as a healthy Dalvin Cook situation.
He went from one op to the other. And I said, I'm really mad he's like an actually nice guy. I'm really mad he's a nice guy. Like, I wanted to hate him so bad. Like, when I heard that nigga, I was like, damn. I wanted you. Kind of like the episode of Entourage where Turtle met Tom Brady and he wanted to cuss him out. And then he was like, "Yo, we should come eat." Giselle cooks. Like, that's how I felt when I talked to Aaron Jones. Like, damn, this nigga's nice. But now we get to the beloved. Of course, it's gonna be Bears content overload on not just this show, but on 79th and Hallis, Barbershop Network, everything. I am ridiculously excited for this season, which who knows how that's going to pan out for me, but I'm excited about it. But the Chicago Bears outlet, the Bears finished with the same record as the Minnesota Vikings at 7-10. Justin Fields is now a Pittsburgh Steeler. The new quarterback is Caleb Williams, traded for Keenan Allen, drafted Roma Dunze with the 9th overall pick, signed DeAndre Swift, signed Kevin Byard. I know there's a couple other guys I'm missing. There's been a whole roster overhaul from last season. There's a lot of high expectations on 1920 football drive, not just from Chicago Bears fans who always have high expectations, but from local and national media. And they are going to be they are the team that's been chosen for HBO's Hard Knocks. First episode will be debuting August 2nd. For me, the top storylines for me, obviously Caleb. That's the number one. Caleb Williams. How is he gonna adjust? I've been to pretty much every practice during this offseason portion, and he's had some good days. He's had some bad days. I don't think it was overwhelmingly in any favor. I don't think he was just bad. I don't think he was just like ripping shit. But at the same time, when he throws that ball, there's a very distinct difference from not just Justin Fields, but other quarterbacks who have donned this uniform when he throws the football, man, that I've seen, and that gets me excited. I think that the trenches, the offensive line and the defensive line, those are big question marks. Is the offensive line going to stay healthy enough? If healthy, I don't really have that many concerns about them. The defensive line is still my number one concern. Montez Sweat had a really good second half of the year when he joined the Bears, had 6 sacks with the Bears, but now the teams are going to be throwing all their attention to him. They still need somebody else to help them. I know they're going to be expecting a lot from Gervon Dexter. I'm going to be expecting a lot from Gervon Dexter. We've been hearing great things about him all through the offseason, through the OTAs and things like that. What's his camp going to be like that? Can Zach Pickens look good? You got those questions. I do think they're going to sign a veteran during the offseason. I don't know who it's going to be, but I do think it's going to be kind of like the Yannick Ngakoue signing last year that happened like in week 2 of camp. And it actually might be that nigga again. So those to me are the biggest storylines coming in. What's Caleb's rookie year going to be like? Is he going to experience some of those rookie pains? I mean, kind of like we see all the conversation we've had about Caitlin Clark in the WNBA is about to switch to Caleb because obviously the NFL's king. He's a big prospect, and Caitlin's actually kind of figured it out. I don't know if you've paid attention to Twitter, but niggas ain't been talking lately because Caitlin's figured it out. Caitlin's been playing really good ball lately. And now the chinch is going to ship to Caleb. And we even got one of the Tennessee Titans says, I can't wait to play old boy with the fingernail. So niggas is already like getting their stuff out. So that's going to be the number one conversation. The wide receiver battles in camp. DJ Moore kind of put a 1,000-yard bounty on the line to see who's going to be the first one hit 1,000 yards between him, Keenan Allen, and Roma Dunze. Roma Dunze saying he wants to break his former teammate Puka Nakua's record, which I don't think he's going to get enough snaps to do that. But you see the competition between that. Can this defense take the second half of last season and prove to people, especially me, because I personally think that was fool's gold, but I would love to be wrong. Can they take that to the next level? What's Matt Eberflus going to look like with actual expectations? The new offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. Flus is not going anywhere. I mean, Flus ain't getting fired. The pressure's on Shane Waldron. Can he do what we haven't seen an offensive coordinator in history of Chicago Bears football do? So those are the top things that I'm going to be looking forward to, and the things that we're going to be giving breakdowns on week by week on not just this show, but also 79th and Hallis. Mikey, what do you think the outlook for the team? What are some things you're going to be looking for as we're officially 2 weeks from camp reporting day for the Bears?
Everything. Everything, bro. From the offensive line to me, something that people aren't really talking about is the right guard center situation. There's a lot of smoke out there that Nate Davis is actually playing for, his job. He will be going into camp playing for his job. So, the Bears did pick up Ryan Bates. They traded a pick from the Bills to the Bills for Ryan Bates. Started majority of his games at right guard. Also has some center experience. But then they go ahead and they pick up Coleman Shelton from the Rams, who was their center. So what does that say for somebody like Nate Davis, who they've had? Now we know that he had issues last year, family wise, death in the family, situations like that, but also just a propensity to not want to practice. And that was something that was coming out of Tennessee. They couldn't wait to get rid of him because he just wasn't committed to the Mike Vrabel style of practicing at 100%. And that was before anything with the family came up. So that's going to be big right there, obviously, because for Caleb Williams, a rookie quarterback who's going to have all of this talent on the outside, you want to make sure that the offensive line and the symmetry and the cohesiveness is there. That's something that Bears quarterbacks throughout their entire lives rarely have. There's always a state of influx. Give us the best 5 out there. So I want to, I'm going to focus in on that. And then just really, Caleb Williams, being able to play within the Shane Waldron offense. We know that he can do, the outside off script shit. We know he can do that, but can he go ahead and play with rhythm, with motion, comfortably from the pocket in Shane Waldron's offense, without having to rely so much on trying to play, hero ball. So that's really what I'm worried, that I'm really focused on. The wide receivers are legit. Our secondary, I know PFF came out the other day and said that we're the 19th best secondary. That's why PFF cannot be fucking taken serious. Yeah. Can't be taken serious. But our secondary is legit. Just want to go ahead and see if they add somebody. I agree with you. I believe it's going to be a Yannick Ngakoue type signing, if not him. He's rehabbing now. They already know what they got. They don't need him now. That could be somebody that they sign maybe, end of July, beginning of August, within, week 2 of camp. And then the other thing, and I don't know if, a lot of people are, if where you guys feel on it, but, Connor Williams, the center from the Miami Dolphins should be ready for camp. He would have been the number 1 center on the free agent market, had he not torn his ACL. Do the Bears go ahead and take a stab at that? If they're not liking what they see out of the Nate Davis situation, Coleman Shelton situation, do they go ahead and maybe give him a 1-year deal that's maybe, 1 year, $12 million or so, or a 2-year deal and take a stab on that? Because as long as he's healthy, there's no way that this offensive line will not be one of, the better ones in the NFC North, if you can add a talent like that. So I'm just really focused on line play because everything else I think is solid.
Bang, man. I think Mikey hit the nail on the head as far as everything. Well, what are you looking forward to as we're 2 weeks heading into camp?
Offensive and defensive line. Mikey hit the nail on the head with everything revolving around that offensive line and Nate Davis, the whole Nate Davis situation. Do you look at an offensive lineman that hasn't been signed yet? That's probably coming off of health. Connor Williams. Do you look at Ryan Bates and the other dude from the Rams that you grabbed? Do you look internal? Oh, all of those things right there leads to a lot of questions when it comes to that offensive line that you need to have in place. Even Tevin Jenkins, will he be able to stay healthy throughout the season? Defensive line, been hearing a lot of stuff around Gervon Dexter Jr. Having a big year. People are pegging him to have a big year. If that were to happen, then I think that defense is better than they were last year, if you could keep that up. So those lines, which are the heartbeat of your teams, are going to be very important to the development of Caleb Williams and the continued development of this defense. So I'm looking at the offensive and defensive line.
Dante, take us on the Bears.
The nigga we drafted number 1 overall. That is all that matters to me. I want to see Caleb Williams. I understand all that other stuff, but I trust Ryan Poles to fix all of that. So I want to see if the quarterback is as advertised and he is the guy that we think he is. Because if he is, a lot of these issues that we worried about ain't going to matter because his play is going to elevate everybody around him. So Caleb is the answer for me. That's the only answer. All the other stuff is secondary at this point. I want to see if he really got it.
Real quick before we spend the last 15 minutes on the Chicago Bulls. I said I don't think Caleb is playing the Hall of Fame game. I would love to be wrong because I'm driving 6 hours to fucking I don't even know what Canton, Ohio. I would love to see that nigga play. I don't think he's gonna play. I want to go with all three of y'all. What y'all prediction is, Mikey? I know you said you want him to play. Do you think that Caleb's gonna play in the Hall of Fame game?
I think he's going to go out there, play 2 handoffs, and that's about it. Or 3 handoffs and call it that.
So no throws.
I would like to see a throw, but I think that they'll go ahead and just give him. Also, you got to remember, it's who's healthy. Remember, that was a Eberflus's thing last year, because so many linemen were hurt during practice. They didn't feel comfortable throwing Justin out there, in the first preseason game. So I think if he goes, allegedly. So I feel if he goes out there, it's just a hand of rock off.
Dante, what's your prediction? Does he play or not play?
He plays 1 series and then sits down.
Bang, what you think?
1 series, 2 passes, sit his ass down.
I think that nigga will be eating goobers on the sideline as who's our backup quarterback? Brett Rippon and my man Tyson Bagent will be throwing the ball, but we'll see. We're gonna spend these last 15 minutes of this show gonna talk a little bit about the Chicago Bulls, man. The Bulls had their draft last week. I don't want to pronounce my man's name wrong, who the Bulls drafted. So
Matis Buzelis.
Matis Buzelis. We gonna say that's the name. Matis Buzelis. He was drafted with the 11th pick in the Bulls. I think it was the 11th pick. I'm not like I said on my man's Trey Pod this week. I didn't know much about the brother, at all. I saw his highlights. It looked impressive to me. But this is also the Chicago Bulls we're talking about. But they have that. My fucking camera tripping and shit. Anyway, but yeah, so they got that going on. They traded Alex Caruso. DeMar DeRozan will not be coming back. We'll get into that in just a second. But the big thing is Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine, there's absolutely no trade market right now. It kind of sounds reminiscent to the things we heard about Justin Fields a couple months ago. And I will say this. I'm not a Zach LaVine fan really anymore, but his agent, Rich Paul, came out and said that, he's been quiet on purpose because he can really say a lot of things that he really wants to say. And he doesn't like the way his client is being covered. And I kind of agree. Even though I'm not really a fan like I used to be, the dude's not a bum. He's not a bum whatsoever. And I'm actually kind of surprised that the market isn't even somewhat decent, especially if you're seeing these other players. I would think that, I think he's a better player than Mikal Bridges. I think Mikal Bridges is a better defender, obviously, but I think he's a better player than Mikal Bridges. I don't understand why there's no market for him. And I do believe this is a situation where I think I'd kind of be shocked if he's not on this team opening night. This would be something where maybe he can go out there, hoop the first half of the season, and he trade him to the deadline, which does not help the Bulls plan what looks like for a rebuild right now. But I'm actually kind of surprised by that. Dante, are you surprised by the market for Zach LaVine, and how do you think this is going to end?
I'm not surprised just because all of the strings attached to Zach LaVine. Clutch has been really, really involved in this process. Obviously that's his representation, but trying to steer him to certain locations. And I think overall, even with the new CBA, and you're starting to get people who are really adverse to just letting players do what they want to do, and like only certain players should have that cachet. And Zach LaVine is not one of those players, so I think that's played a lot into it. So I think as the dust settles, especially after this DeRozan signing trade, you'll get a better idea of the market for Zach, because like you said, he's still more than a serviceable player, borderline all-star, a guy that can really, inject some life into somebody's offensive side of the ball. He ain't gonna play defense, but I mean, he has gotten better with his effort on the defensive side of the ball. We can't say that. So I think it's really a matter of getting Zach into a place where he is happy and ready to contribute and happy with his role, which he hasn't been in Chicago for the last few years. So I'm not really surprised based off everything that's been going on with Zach these last few years. But I think before the season starts, I think he won't be in the Chicago Bulls uniform anymore.
Bane, does anything shock you about Zach's trade value, and do you think he'll be a Bull when opening night kicks off in October?
Nothing surprised me, because as good and as talented Zach LaVine is, can he stay healthy? That contract is also a big thing too. So you have a shooting guard who doesn't play good defense, that can shoot the rock, but a lot of his game is predicated on his legs, who has had a history of injuries with his legs. And he has a big contract. And then also you have Clutch pretty much trying to direct things. Look, it's no secret about why these issues are here. Also, look, take into account that he was probably going to be a Detroit Piston last year, but then right before the trigger is pulled, he goes to have surgery on his foot. So
there's like, you niggas not sending me to Detroit.
Right. So there's a lot to this outside of just that he's talented. Is he healthy? How did you end your season last year? Look, the Bulls reports, I don't know if the reports are true, but if they are, you mean to tell me that the team don't want Zach LaVine and a pick? You mean to tell me they don't want him and a pick? That says a lot. Also, it says a lot that it was early reported that the Sacramento Kings would be a good spot for Zach LaVine, but then now you have DeMar DeRozan. It looks like that may be the place for him. So maybe when the DeMar DeRozan thing is taking place and other dominoes fall, you could see a trade happen. But if he is healthy, he's going to be a big contributor to the team. If he could stay healthy, he's going to be a big contributor to the team. But he's one of those people that got that big-ass contract that now you look at it as a noose around the neck of your whole entire team. How he goes is how the rest of the Bulls rebuild goes. And right now they look like they have a youth movement. As I said on Some Dude Pod, they have a chance to get the big white three with Giddey, Matters, and Cooper Flag.
The big white three.
The big white three.
The cracker three.
You know what I'm saying? New kids on the block. You know what I'm saying? So there's opportunity there. But in order for that opportunity to manifest himself, you have to get rid of Zach LaVine. So I'll go as far as saying that I don't believe that Zach LaVine will be on the court at the beginning of the season, because they're going to continuously try to trade him if he's not going already. I don't think we're going to see Zach LaVine in the Bulls uniform outside of media day.
I think that'll be the smart play too. You don't want him going there and ruin any chance you have to be able to get a guy like a Cooper Flag who will have the north side absolutely on lock. But with DeMar DeRozan, there's really not even like thoughts about it. I just want to give like the update on it. So Woj was on SportsCenter today, and he said that basically this is something that he thinks is going to heat up over the next 24 to 48 hours. The Kings have pretty much basically agreed to DeMar's asking price for $20 and $25 million a year, which rightfully he need to be asking for. Like, nigga, Franz Wagner just got $270 million. And look, I said this morning that I think Franz Wagner is a really good young player, and I have no problem with him getting paid. I just think paying him off potential is a little crazy. Now I get the salary cap for all you salary cap niggas being my mentions, but Debo pretty much has a contract agreement. They're just waiting to find a third team to be in this deal because the Bulls don't want to take on any extra contracts, which lines up to their rebuild plan. I think that honestly, this will be actually a good look for DeMar. I like that fit with Sacramento. Gives them another bucket getter, adds to what they've got with De'Aaron Fox, and they re-signed
Two clutch players, best clutch players in the game, apparently for the numbers.
by the numbers. They re-signed my man
Malik Monk.
Malik Monk. Yeah, thank you. Because his last name was escaping me. But that's something that I feel like he'll be able to right there in jail with. He'll be back home in California. Obviously, Sacramento is not Los Angeles, but it's not that far from it. I think that's a big move a good move for both teams, and I think this will be something that'll get done by the time that teams are actually able to sign contracts in about 2 days. So that's something right there to pay attention to. And then maybe that will open the market for Zach LaVine. But we're going to wrap this up with this last topic about the Bulls finally going on a rebuild. And I think that this is something that the first time the Bulls have actually committed to a rebuild, I feel, post-Baby Bulls. Because if you look at it, when they got Derrick Rose, them niggas just got lucky. Like, it wasn't just because they were historically bad. I think they were a couple games out of the 8th seed for the playoffs. I think they finished 9th or 10th that season. They had a 1.9% chance to be the number one pick. So they got lucky getting Derrick Rose. When Derrick Rose got traded, Jimmy Butler took them to the playoffs the next year. And then when Jimmy left, they were bad, but it wasn't like we rebuilding bad. They were bad because, they were just a bad team. And then they had Lauri Markkanen had issues. Zach LaVine was still working his way back into the lineup. So this is the first time I feel like they've committed to an actual rebuild plan for the second time post Jordan. And this is something I feel like Bulls fans have been begging for them to do for the longest time. They only made one free agency move. They signed free agent center Jalen Smith. He was with the Pacers last year, had a solid year last year, 3-year, $27 million contract. Of course, they traded for Josh Giddey. And Kobe White's gonna be getting a lot more minutes. Patrick Williams got his extension, $95 million. I know a lot of people was like $95 million, but compared to these contracts they're throwing out, that's honestly a reasonable deal for a Patrick Williams. I don't think he's going to get any better than what he is right now, but I'm not mad at the numbers. My thing is
Buck Williams. He's basically new age Buck Williams.
New age Buck Williams. Crazy. Buck Williams had them big ass glasses, nigga, with them Horace Grant joints. But I think, to me, I like that they're finally rebuilding. Do I have any faith in the rebuild? Absolutely not, because Arturas and Westside West have yet to show us that they know what they're doing. So until that changes, I don't think there's any reason for optimism. I think you're going to see a lot of bad basketball next year. I think, if anything, if you watch the Bulls, I am not a practicing Bulls fan, but if you watch them, I think watching young talent and losing is easy to watch than the team that's just middle of the road. Like, you knew this team these last couple of years wasn't doing anything. Now, we still don't really know what's going on with Lonzo Ball. He's been playing 5-on-5s. He actually looks mobile for the first time in years in these videos. We don't know if they're going to buy him out. We don't know what that situation is going to look like. But more than anything, if there's anything positive I can give to Bulls fans, is that they've at least picked a direction, and now we're going to see how this lines up. I know, Mike, you said you don't have too many thoughts on this, but what do you think about them finally actually picking a lane of which way they're going to go with their future?
I'm not going to applaud them until I see them all the way through. So I'm not going to applaud them for picking a lane until I see that DeMar is gone, Zach is gone, and potentially Vooch, because it takes a lot to understand and to admit, that your big plan, that continuity and all that shit you were talking when you first came in here was a failure. I'm honestly surprised that they're doing this and allowing Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley to still remain, in charge of this. But that sounds like Jerry. Jerry's going to give them a second shot at it. So I appreciate it, because the Bulls are stuck in the middle of nowhere, man. They're not good enough to get a top, 3 pick. They're not bad enough to they're not good enough to be in the playoffs, but they're not bad enough to get a top 3 pick. So, you're just stuck there, and they exude no energy and no confidence and no excitement out of me, because we know what it is. You talk about the Bears, we just talk about all these amazing young players they have and how bright their future is. They're healthy cap space picks, all of that shit, and it's exciting. Even down to talking about baseball. Like baseball, it's terrible in the city, but there's the potential for a massive overhaul with trading Garrett Crochet and Luis Roberts. So there's some things that get you excited. With the Bulls, every media day, it's the same shit. Continuity. If we get Lonzo back, and it's just not working. So I really like the Bazulius pick. He's got some game, and he talks a lot of shit. So he seems like that kind of dog personality that you want in a young player to go out there and get better. So I like that. And I am not a Patrick Williams enthusiast at all, but I will tune in to see how he looks offensively now that he'll be able to get touches if they go ahead and move off from DeMar, which they will, but then move off of Zach, because I would like to see those touches that Zach and DeMar were getting now be shared with Kobe White, Patrick Williams, the young kids, and let them grow.
Quick question for you: if they do get rid of Zach and Vooch, do you think they're top 3 bad?
Oh, yeah, 100%, 100%. Zach, Josh Giddey is a good player for what he does, facilitating, rebounding. He's got size at that position that you like in today's game. He could get out and run the floor. We know Kobe likes to run the floor. Pat Williams in transition is something that we haven't really seen much of. So it'd be interesting to see that. But yeah, if they get rid of those guys, we're talking about their top 3 bad, because they're not going to be able to really play a lick of defense. And you're just going to be green all around. Kobe White's going to be the star, the best player on the team. And where you going from there? You're talking about Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Mattis, Patrick Williams, Jalen Smith, Julian Phillips, Dalen Terry, and Javon Carter for that veteran leadership voice. That's a really bad team. It'll be exciting to see just because they're so young, but that's a bad team.
Cooper Flag jersey is going to sell next summer. Anyway, Dante, I know you're the big white 3. Dante, I know you discussed about anything Bulls related, but what do you think about them actually picking a lane this time?
I was about to say we do not care. We do not care. I don't expect anything out of this.
If I'd have said the White Sox, this nigga would have been had a little more pep in the step. Which I
got my reasons for the White Sox, but no, these motherfuckers, no. I have no hope, no wishes. I don't see anything. Like them being young, yeah, that's cool. They're gonna be ass. They're gonna find a way to get the 6th pick again. You know how this goes. So, like I said, until I see it, kind of like with the Bears. I was off the Bears until I started to see the moves lining up and actually make sense. So I mean, tearing it down, anybody can do that. Like literally anybody can go in there and say, all right, y'all, we're gonna get rid of everybody. Like that ain't shit. So until I see more, then I'll have a comment on it. But for the same old Bulls, I mean, nothing new.
Bang, man, take us home. Wrap us up. What you think about them picking the lane?
I was feeling like Dante was for a little bit. Now I'm a little bit excited. Only reason why I'm and not because of any like high expectations or anything like that. I just want to see it. I'm excited to just actually see it. And there's a couple of things here. First of all, we was talking about nepotism. We've been talking about nepotism. Shouts out to nepotism because the Bulls Summer League coach is Billy Donovan the third. So
shout out to
I saw that and I was like, oh, look at that Nepo thing happening. But man, I'm just excited for them to just blow it up at this point. That might be low hanging fruit. That might be low expectations, all of that stuff. But I'm excited for them to just go ahead and blow it up, and let's see what happens. Let's see how Billy Donovan is with young talent as opposed to these vets. Let's see if he can groom and grow these players. Let's look out and see how they gel. I don't want to see Lonzo Ball with this team. In fact, if I'm Lonzo Ball, I'm like, look, I just spent 2.5 years on the shelf. I'm not coming up here, to play with these kids, man. Just let me go or send me somewhere. I'm excited to see all of the old heads go. I do want to see this young team and see how they gel. I also want to see them suck. Pause. I want to see them huff because I want to.
Today.
Well, we've been wilding today, but now I want to see. I want to see if they.
We is a lot of people, dog.
Hey, I've been saying pause. I've been saying pause.
You speak French now, nigga?
No, hey, I said pause a couple times, but no, I'm excited to see if the Bulls can come up and get one of the first 2 picks in the draft, whether it's Cooper Flagg or if it's Ace Bailey. I think the league is probably going to make that happen too, because the league's going to be like, nah.
Adam Silver, you son of a bitch, you owe me. Okay?
Exactly.
We about to get Ron's son, Dylan Harper. We're gonna be the 3rd pick, and we gonna get Dylan.
Hey man, that 3rd pick has been kind of successful for us.
I mean, they gotta.
No, it has not. No, it has not.
There's a.
Hey, 3rd
Ain't
pick.
Tatum wasn't Tatum
like
The 3rd pick is the reason why we got everything we got now. The third pick is the only reason why we like these niggas. All right, the 3rd pick in the NBA draft is the only reason why we like the Bulls. Because without that 3rd pick, we wouldn't have shit.
Brother, that was 40 years ago.
I know. That's the point I'm making. Without him, this is a torn. Hey, without him, this franchise is probably not even Chicago. This is a terrible franchise. This franchise would be like the Minnesota Timberwolves and
the Memphis Grizzlies.
We'd be the Memphis Grizzlies. So without that pick, we are not shit.
For the sake of the positivity y'all have for the Bulls, I'm gonna start treating this shit how Bang treat baseball. Like when y'all start talking about the Bulls, just exit me out the screen. It's never gonna be nothing I say positive.
I don't understand why the Sox don't get your same energy. They should get
this because baseball is different, Scott.
It's
baseball
different.
is
It's just
different.
different.
So they might catch a wild card.
No, like I know they're not gonna spend the money, but I mean. Once again, we talk about the prospects.
Bro, like, these niggas have made the playoffs 3 times in the history of human civilization.
You right.
In the history of human civilization. I'm not trying to put either one on any sort of pedestal, but 3 times in the history of civilization.
But what's the only point of holding on to the Bulls? Because of what Mike did back then?
I'm not holding on to nothing. I've been watching either one of them niggas. But I'm just saying that they're if there's any team, if I put a gun in my head, somebody told me who's going to win a playoff series first, the Bulls or the White Sox, I'm taking the Bulls before I take the White Sox. Like who's going to win a playoff series first? I take the Bulls. I'll be dead either way. But if I had to pick, I pick the Bulls before I pick the White Sox. That's just me.
I will too, but I'm also not going to be stupid enough not to know that if
I wouldn't make that bet.
If the Bulls would have drafted Sam Perkins, we wouldn't even be talking about this damn franchise right now. That was the 4th pick in that draft too.
Hey, right? I'm just saying. But we're gonna wrap this up.
Hold on, let's just talk about Chicago sports. The Cubs haven't been to the playoffs since 2020. The Sox haven't been since 2021. The Bulls haven't been since 2022. The Bears haven't been since 2020. The Blackhawks haven't been since 2020.
Well, at least we've been in the playoffs in the 2020s.
Sky won a championship in 2021.
Exit me out the screen.
Did you say at least we made the playoffs? Now it's funny y'all say that now.
I said in the 2020s.
But when I say, I'd rather be the 49ers than the Bears, y'all always say, I don't want to play with I want to fuck.
Whoa. Who said that?
All of y'all.
I ain't say that shit.
That's one of the Lewis. It's one of the Lewis brothers.
It's a different situation. It's a different situation.
I ain't say that shit.
It's a different situation between the two teams because they have
wrong with playing with it sometimes.
3 times in 100 years. That's all I'm saying. 3 times in 100 years is nuts. It's insane. Neither one of them going. I'm just saying. If I had to, I'm just saying that the same discussion you have for the Bulls should be directed to the White Sox.
Wait till you see the United Center next year when Cooper Flagg put on the Bulls uniform. Him, Madison, Giddey. Oh my God, boy. It's going to be Caucasian crazy out there on the West.
We got to go get TJ McConnell. We got to get TJ McConnell just because.
Oh, man, boy.
It's going to be all season going to be that. You all right, white boy meme. That's going to be the
y'all ain't seen a white big 3 since 1957. Boy, y'all better stop playing out here. Boy,
even Larry Bird didn't have a white big 3.
Right, he ain't even have a white big 3, boy. They had Robert Parrish. All right? Anytime, look, was what the St. Louis Hawks probably been the last time you since the last time you saw.
Who is George Mikens running mate? Them niggas was probably white too. Like,
Elgin Baylor for like that last year. I think.
Oh, well, yeah, that don't even count.
No, because he didn't win no title. So no, I don't know.
Yeah, he didn't win any title because Micah won 5. So I guarantee you it was some white niggas.
That was the last time you saw a white big three.
I just want to say as we end this episode, man, big shout out to DeMar DeRozan, man. I was actually not a fan of DeMar DeRozan before he came to the Bulls, but he actually became one of my favorite Bulls, man. I fuck with DeMar. He's a cool dude. Compton, California legend. Shout out to Compton High School. Big shout out to DeMar, man. So I enjoy. If there's anything I say about the last 3 years of Bulls basketball, I at least enjoyed watching DeMar DeRozan play basketball, man.
Can't wait for the tribute.
Yeah, you know he's gonna get. You know everybody gets a tribute now.
I can't wait till the tribute.
Everybody gets a tribute now. But that's all we got for y'all today, man. On the first edition of I'm Not Gonna Hold You to Offseason. We'll be back a week from today, next Friday, on July 12th. I think that is. My math serves me correctly.
July 13th. Yeah, July 12th.
Yeah, July 12th. I was like, damn, I ain't that bad off yet. But y'all know to follow me on all social media platforms at Barberchair Scott. You can follow Dante at October Zone Tay on Twitter. Do not follow him on Instagram. He will find you. You can follow Mikey at Junior_Solito. And you can follow JR Bang at JR Bang on all social media platforms. Follow HMB Media at HMB Media TV on Twitter and at HMB Media on Instagram. Subscribe to our Patreon right now. Patreon.com/Barberchair Network. We got a whole bunch of different tiers for you right now. We've got our full interview with Yahoo Sports and Apple TV Plus's Russell Dorsey. Check that out. There's new episodes of Cinema with the Guys. Me and Dante breaking down the House of the Dragon, and also our Entourage review podcast celebrating 20 years Entourage Return to Queens Boulevard and Summer Sessions. We've done 4 episodes in a row. I can't remember the last time we did 4 episodes in a row. Check out the last episode, which was hilarious. We'll be back on Tuesday. During the little breaks we had during the show, I was coming up with topics that are piss Pavy off. I've got one I can't wait to unleash on Tuesday. So tune in next Wednesday for the 5, man. So y'all enjoy the rest of y'all July 4th weekend. We gonna holler at y'all next Friday. We up out of here.